So the first one up is Stormwater Manual Peer Review.
Yes, so Kevin's on his way up. So Kevin McAndrew will introduce the team. Commissioners, as you know, we've conducted a pretty extensive review of our stormwater manual. And so they're going to walk through the findings of that study and recommendations on a path forward. Kevin?
Thank you, and good morning, Commissioners. Kevin McAndrew, Director, BDRS. I'd like to start the presentation by providing some context to the Stormwater Manual peer review, and then turn it over to the consultant, VHB. Land development codes, including technical manuals such as the Stormwater Manual, all warrant regular monitoring to assess whether or not at times there's a need for an update or a refinement, whether it's due to regulatory, legislative action, whether it's due to technology changes such as modeling stormwater management or product updates. The stormwater infrastructure industry is a multi-billion-dollar industry. There's new products being refined and coming online every year, and these will all influence whether or not that stormwater manual needs to be changed. The stormwater manual was adopted in February of 2017, and it was in fact updated in November of 2021, not that long ago, and it did include specific design flexibility as well as numerous clarifications. And while this update did take place not long ago, the Stormwater Manual has been under constant questioning and challenging, specifically from one stakeholder group, the development community. Engineers, contractors, builders, real estate professionals, and land use attorneys. And there's specific areas of challenge and question, primarily related to the lack of flexibility within the manual, the ease of use, and probably the most prominent degree of feedback has been the cost of the infrastructure to meet or be in compliance with the Stormwater Manual. And it was largely this feedback from this stakeholder group that led to advancing this peer review. Very briefly, the project purpose was to have an outside qualified engineering consultant prepare this evaluation and come back as to potential recommendations regarding updates to the manual. Importantly, we wanted a consultant that knows Pinellas County, that knows the Stormwater Manual, that has extensive land development experience, and also importantly has experience in working with our neighboring municipalities and adjoining counties. And that's what VHB aligned with these attributes. They're a 1,900-person engineering firm. They have a significant footprint here in Southwest Florida with offices in Tampa, Sarasota, and Orlando. And the project manager and lead professional engineer on this project, who I'll turn it over to momentarily, Alex DeYoung, is a former employee of Swift Mud, and since being with VHB has extensive private sector land development experience. The scope of the report that's behind today's presentation had three main components. There was a detailed technical review and a comparative assessment where they looked at adjoining municipalities as well as some of the neighboring counties. There's a second section of the report that provided information on what was termed an economic and environmental trending assessment. And the last main component of that report is the findings and recommendations. And that's what this morning's presentation will focus on. From a project approach, neutral. Right from the outset, while this may have been initiated by the development community, the intent was that this would be an objective study that included all stakeholders, from the development community to any and all residents of Pinellas County, to the environmental organizations within the county that would have interest in this. And from a timeline, this study took place over the past 6 months. Within that period, there were 2 public stakeholder meetings in which there was significant outreach. Considering the technical nature of this subject matter, there was good turnout at those, and the input from those meetings is very much part of the recommendations you'll hear this morning.
Hi, good morning. I'm Alex DeYoung. Thanks for the introduction, Kevin. I was the project manager and the lead on kind of going through this study. So I'm going to kind of walk you guys through and the recommendations that we've presented. I know that you guys have all had the copy of our finalized report, so I'll go through these things kind of quickly. Just a general overview of some of our findings. Of course, local governments can be more stringent than state and federal regulations, and we understand that Pinellas County is a special place to live and work and play, and it is surrounded by water on three sides, a peninsula on a peninsula, if you will. And because of that, we have a lot of drivers that focus on more stringent needs for permit requirements for development. When we dove into looking at the surrounding municipalities and their regulations, we found that most of the regulations that are in place in Pinellas County are in line with state and federal regulations, but there are a couple that are more stringent, and for good reasons, right? For flood control, for the amount of impaired waters or TMDLs within the county. And then, of course, there's just general NPDES permits that are specific to our state. But ultimately, we dove into the fact that Pinellas County really wants to be practicing superior environmental stewardship, and they want to be the leader in improving water quality in our area and making sure that we uphold those standards for the future generations. So we also kind of got to look at the permits that were issued and any development trends over the last 20 plus years, and we did notice that it has been a slower rate of development in Pinellas County than the surrounding local municipalities, but there's a lot of reasons for that, and this trend appeared further much before 2017, which is when the Stormwater Manual was implemented. And ultimately, I mean, we understand that Pinellas County is mostly built out. There's higher cost of land here, and development, labor, materials, all of that stuff has also increased and has had some impact on that. We took a brief look at water quality trends in our area, really diving into if they've been improving over the last couple years. And ultimately, there's no exact trends that were set forth. There's lots of different variables that go into having water quality improve. And at any given moment, there could be dredging, there could be other outside, impacts like red tide that could be affecting it. And so really we need more of a length of time than 2017 to now to really understand if the Stormwater Manual is making an impact. But ultimately, no current trends were really found on there.
I have a quick question on the water quality. What exactly, which water are you talking about as far as the quality?
Sure. So really we looked at most large bodies of water. So all of the surrounding waters, Boca Ciega Bay, the large interior water bodies are all tracked by the Department of Environmental Protection. So they take water quality measurements 4 times a year to track the nutrient levels. And so we generally looked at that. Pinellas County also has an outside consultant that comes and does water quality monitoring. So we worked with Public Works for them to provide us that data, and we just generally looked at if there's been an increase in nutrients in the interior water bodies and exterior water bodies, specific to nitrogen and phosphorus, which I know is a little bit technical, but.
Nope, that's important. Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah.
On that same thing, so the water bodies that have access to the bay and the bays and the Gulf.
Tidal bodies.
Yeah, so that's one thing. But what about the other ponds? The ponds that we're talking about throughout the county. Were those also tested for improvements? We have hundreds of ponds in our county.
Do you mean like private stormwater ponds?
Any of the ponds, any of the small that aren't affected by the tidal.
So yes, all municipally owned interior water bodies, natural lakes, springs, canals, things like that. So like Lake Tarpon, for example, although that is slightly tidally influenced, was looked at. Yes, but private stormwater ponds were not looked at. Those are not monitored.
So how do we know whether these improvements, as you say, where there's no trend line that shows improvement, and you talked about all the other variables that are at play, or mostly the variables affect the tidal waters, if you will. But how do we know the interior is showing any improvement if we're not testing?
So they are being tested. It just takes quite a bit of time for there to be improvement in nutrient reductions. So specific to Pinellas County, truly, because it is so built out, the improvements that you'll see in these water bodies and the interior parts of the county specifically are going to take a longer time to see that trend, because there are old developments that are still discharging the same amount of nutrients that they have been. Also unique to Pinellas County, there's, and don't quote me on this, 29 and different, incorporated areas within Pinellas County, somewhere close to that. What is it? 24. So there's 24 different incorporated areas of Pinellas County that have different regulations that all discharge, or some of them discharge to the same larger water bodies. So if they aren't meeting the same regulations that Pinellas County is, then it's going to have a slower moving trend towards improving that.
So how long is the normal trend that we can actually see if there's any improvements?
I would say that you probably wouldn't be able to tell any improvement prior to a 20-year trend.
20-year trend.
Probably.
So the stormwater regulations that we have now that are rather restrictive, rather stringent, we have to wait 20 years to see if that has provided any improvements to our water bodies.
I think you would have to wait to see if there was an improvement there. However, what we do know as stormwater engineers, and because we've been studying this for long periods of time, we know that you'll hear me say the word presumptive criteria, which is very in line with the surrounding municipalities or incorporated areas. And what was previously assumed to remove nitrogen and phosphorus or nutrients from water bodies, we know that now that assumption was incorrect. So there has been lots of studies over the last 30 years, truly, that have defined the way that we now look at stormwater and how we're going to remove nutrients from our runoff. So while you wouldn't be able to necessarily track it for 20 years within a large water body through the state actual testing, we know that any movement towards reducing the nutrients that go into those water bodies is improving it.
I was going to ask the same question or a similar question to what Commissioner Eggers asked about the length of time it would take to see an impact. But that leads me to another question, since that one has been answered. Where does the code that we passed or that Pinellas County passed in 2017, where does that compare to other counties in terms of how restrictive it is?
Yeah, so most of the requirements are really in line with state and local municipalities. There are a handful of items within the code that are more restrictive, and I'm gonna flip to the next slide. But ultimately, I would say there's a very specific code regulation that was introduced in Pinellas County specific to water quality that makes it very stringent and hard to achieve, or for developers to provide a sufficient amount of stormwater storage on site to meet that regulation.
And Commissioners, the next several slides, they're going to have a series of recommendations that are going to outline where we're more stringent and their recommendations regarding modifications to our code. And that may help clarify some of your questions.
Okay, Commissioner Scott.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Do we know what the nutrient load is of our reclaimed water in terms of nitrogen and phosphorus? I don't know if that's a question for you necessarily, but that's the two things that we seem to be focused on.
Yes.
But do we know what that nutrient load is in our reclaimed water?
Absolutely, yes. So DEP tracks that every quarter. They go and test each water body, and then they update the verified impaired water body list if they can identify a causative pollutant. Sometimes there are situations where they know that water body is not going to improve because there is a TMDL or a total daily maximum load allowed, and so they move it onto a D list, but it continues to be basically impaired for nitrogen and phosphorus, which we know increases nitrogen or increases nutrient blooms and can affect seagrass and our aquatic life and really the quality of our water. I do have like 10 more slides, but I love these questions. So as we move into recommendations, what you'll see is that we've broken this up into about 5 categories: exemptions, flexibilities, incentives, technical updates, and the adaptive feedback process. We'll talk about recommendations within each of these sections, and you'll see these symbols that are our implementation strategy suggestions next to each of our recommendations. And ultimately, we have some of our recommendations can be implemented immediately. Some require a code update to be implemented so that the stormwater manual is on par with what is being reviewed and submitted. And others of our recommendations really require further research and potential pilot projects to kind of see if this works for the county and really does, increase development. This is just a general menu of our recommendations. These are the recommendations I'll be going over, but I want to take this slide to basically tell you that these next couple slides have a lot of words on them. These are very technical subject matter with a lot of words that has been worked through with staff and the development community that we've provided or gotten feedback from. So I'll try to keep it as high level as possible, but you may hear some technical terms. Ask questions if you have them. I'm happy to answer them as we go. So I'll start with the exemptions. The first exemption is really a exemption to help drive redevelopment. This would allow small sites within the county, which we know that there's plenty of small sites under 2 acres, but here we're defining it to be an acre or less. If a developer comes in and reduces the existing impervious area on site by 10%, they would only need to provide a minimum amount of treatment to meet stormwater quality. They wouldn't need to meet the more stringent requirements that are currently in line with the stormwater manual. This is very on par with the Water Management District and some surrounding municipalities. It allows for greater flexibility of development or redevelopment within the county. This is an exemption that's not currently provided. So I didn't mention the stars on the symbology, but we do have stars shown next to the recommendations that we think are going to be the most effective and predominant of our recommendations. Moving on, the single-family exemption. There's currently an exemption in the manual that allows for single-family residences to construct a set amount of hard surface area or house and driveway without having to meet the stormwater criteria. We are proposing to kind of expand that to be more than just single-family, to include duplexes and triplexes. A lot of the surrounding municipalities have this, even up to quadplexes. But what this really does is allow for, missing middle housing or development of missing middle housing to improve kind of those areas and, be able to offer more housing without having to take up land area with stormwater criteria. The flexibilities here, there's currently an administrative adjustment that staff is able to apply, which is a 10% reduction in the nutrient requirements that the stormwater manual has in place. Ultimately, the way that it's applied now would require a developer or an engineer to prove that they can't meet the requirements. So our suggestion here is to really open that up to allow developers or engineers to say, we can't quite get there, but this is why, in a different sense of the way, by saying that there's either a financial burden or that they're basically taking a different train of action. Now, this wouldn't apply like you just aren't trying. This would be more like a discussion with DRS, but opening that up and putting it in the manual would really help, I think, developers understand that there's some flexibilities within the current code.
Question? Thank you. Can you, I mean, give us like an actual like real world example of what that would actually be, scenario?
For the administrative adjustment? Yeah, absolutely. So, so you had like this is specific to large sites, which would be over an acre. So if you had a 2-acre site that you needed to, that's a redevelopment site, but the existing site doesn't have a stormwater pond on it, but you know the developer needs to still have their building, redevelop a parking lot, and include a stormwater facility on the existing site. But in order to achieve the nutrient reduction requirements that are set forth in the manual, say they lose too much parking, it doesn't make sense for their development. They can't sufficiently meet the code and serve the function that they've purchased the property for, to serve their clients. But they can get there almost, right? In order, like, they're 10% away from being able to fully achieve that. Then they could work with staff, and staff could say, okay, we understand that, you're not quite there, but you've put in good effort, and it's still going to achieve more than what would be generally required.
Help that out, Kevin.
We would look to administer this no differently than how we administer administrative adjustments related to setbacks or other conditions in the code, which is, it becomes just a submission, and it's processed at the level of staff level up to 10%.
And Commissioner, probably the biggest thing that I've heard on this is developers have to do full engineering in order to get what they already know. And that's probably the biggest complaint is like, I know where I'm at, just from the preliminary working, the numbers and stuff, but I've got to do full engineering in essence to prove to you that I'm eligible for the criteria that you have and the flexibilities. And under this process, they should be able to come to them with enough information to where they can apply that. Go ahead, Kevin.
That's exactly right. We're looking to increase the utility of this provision that already is in the manual, but we just felt that it just was not getting the use that it really could. So this is really cleaning up, I'm going to just call it cleaning up that process and the language so that we get greater utilization of it.
So currently, there's no flexibility on this. Now we're adding a 10% proposal.
There is flexibility. The way I would describe it again is that it just, as it's written specifically in the code, in the manual, it's not easy to utilize it. So we're just looking to clean that language up so that it does get the utility that we think it can.
So currently today, without any changes, this exists, this policy exists, and this ability for staff to grant that 10% exists today?
It does. There's some slight nuances. Again, I don't want to get way into the weeds because what Alex has laid out is that part of the overall strategy in these recommendations was bringing a greater degree of relief to the smaller scale land development projects, and that she covered through the first exemption. This particular issue here is really providing the relief to the larger scale sites.
And is that, staff look at it, and you're talking about, the example you brought up was parking, is there a discussion about, all right, we typically require X number of parking spots, we're going to require Y, so that the parking is, our requirement for parking is reduced so that we still meet the stormwater, or is it their desire, their level of parking requirements for their business?
So we always want to see a property developed where the true demand of parking is met. That's sort of the baseline, just good planning. But we have actually good flexibility in the LDC right now on parking reduction. You'll see, though, in one of the recommendations that we're looking to expand that to also tie it to stormwater management. Okay,
thank you.
I have another question as well. No, I don't need you, Janet, need you. And I might be too soon on this question, but this idea that they have to, if you build something, redevelop something, they have to process the stormwater 3 times. Have we gotten to that yet? Because when I have a major flag hotel tell me that we are the most expensive county in the country because of that provision, that they don't even want to do work anymore in this county, it concerns me. And I've heard it from 2 other engineers and a flag hotel. And they're not even together. So they were 2 separate meetings that they don't even know each other from. So am I too early in that question?
I just need more clarification. You said to process stormwater 3 times?
That they have to set up a system that processes the stormwater 3 times.
Okay, so that would be, we would call that a treatment train. But I understand what they're trying to say. So ultimately, in order to achieve the requirements that Pinellas County currently has, typically the only way to do that is to set up what we would call a treatment train, or capture stormwater in one system, treat it, send it to another system, treat it, potentially send it to another system and treat it. Now, that doesn't always look like 3 ponds back to back. Oftentimes it looks like you discharge, or your stormwater runoff overland flows either into a bioswale or like a green space, is then routed through this little swale into, say, a tree well, or some other green infrastructure, pervious pavement, for example, and then ultimately into a pond. Or it looks like a pond that has an underdrain, which is a perforated pipe inside the pond that has filter media surrounding it that removes nutrients. So that would be like 2 different methods of treatment. But yes, in order to achieve the nutrient reductions that are set forth in the code, it's not as simple as putting it through 1 pond.
Okay. But so are there any recommendations to relieve that issue? Because they're telling me it is so, and they were on your team, so you've heard this.
Yes. Yeah. I mean, I also do quite a bit of work in Pinellas County and have to meet these same criteria.
Okay.
But there are some flexibilities or some code changes that I'll go through that will help that. But ultimately, some of our other recommendations are just going to help bring down the cost of meeting and achieving those things, to give engineers more flexibility to be able to design and meet those, but also help the water quality that we're seeing.
Okay.
I'm sorry. And probably all these questions should wait till the end, but I'll forget the ones that I wanted to ask later.
That's fine.
And so some of this stuff just feeds on other things. So that question is an excellent question, and I, for the life of me, don't understand what we're trying to accomplish. In layman's terms, it seems like over the top, okay, that we're going too far on our requirements. And again, we're putting a lot of pressure on minimal, it's all redevelopment. So my idea is that the properties that are in place today are horrible with respect to water runoff or worsening our water bodies. So anything that we do is going to be a huge improvement, and that we want to go even further than that. And it just seems like it's just too far. Now, I know that's not what we're going to go through all this stuff, but that just seems like way too much. And then the question I'm going to ask, and then we don't have to answer it right now, but we've had a couple of people who have larger than 1 acre lots, and their pervious area is over 10,000 feet, and therefore they have to introduce a pond. And to me, again, over the top. If we have a 10,000 foot is the limit on 1 acre,
Yep.
and it's the limit on 1.5 acres, it's the limit on a 2 acre lot, it still is the same requirement. And I think you've,
For single family. And that's what one of our recommendations is, expanding. So I didn't touch on it, but on the second star here on the screen, the single-family duplex and triplex residential exemption expansion incorporates an expansion of impervious area allowed up to 25% of the total site acreage for those sites.
right. Well, I would like to, at some point, get back to the philosophy of redevelopment and what we're doing at any level of retention on site being a huge improvement, a huge increase
Yeah.
of improvement of water quality. And then what we're doing on top of that to perhaps put a lot of cost pressures and also property pressures in a redeveloping county that doesn't have the land to do the excess stuff. So anyway,
I think as we move forward, you'll see that there's some other recommendations that are going to help that. There's one coming up that's for 20%. So, okay, so I'm just going to touch on this last flexibility, and this is kind of high level. This would require some further research, some pilot projects to be implemented. But what we know as stormwater engineers and scientists is that truly regional water quality facilities or regional stormwater facilities do a better job at cleaning water than tiny small ponds of these small sites. So there are other municipalities and other incorporated parts of this county that allow for a payment in lieu program. So in those redevelopment sites where it doesn't make sense to capture the runoff and treat it on site, if it makes sense for the basin and there's a facility available, ultimately allowing a developer to pay into a program that is supported by the county as a payment in lieu, and they essentially buy the water quality credits. Okay, so on this slide, this is the incentive slide. All of these are brand new. None of these exist currently in the code. So these are kind of our out-of-the-box thinking to incentivize development. The first one would be that 20% administrative decrease that I kind of just mentioned. So this is for large sites. We want to really encourage enhanced landscaping plans. So in this incentive, it would be for developers to be able to apply for or submit a 20% reduction in the required nutrient loading on site if they are going to be providing additional landscaping of the site and really cleaning up those redevelopments within the county. The next one would require basically another pilot program, but it's a density and intensity bonus. So the idea behind this is that if a developer or engineer can achieve the stormwater quality that is set forth in the manual without using any of those administrative exemptions or reductions, and they go, say, above and beyond, that potentially they can be rewarded for that. So if they do 5% extra in stormwater quality that they're providing on site, they could potentially be able to submit for 5% more floor area ratio for their commercial site so that they have, more square footage to lease and then turn that around. Or if you had a residential development, you could add more units so that that cost for the stormwater is really offset by the development that you're providing. A parking reduction incentive, so kind of to your point earlier, for large sites, if they can achieve the stormwater manual requirements and they don't need the parking for their own use and they would like to reduce it, we're suggesting that they can get that reduction. This wouldn't apply to accessible spaces, of course, but ultimately this allows them to be more flexible in their development and to help the county meet their goals to achieve, higher water quality. And then
5580.
Sure. So the 5580 is the current requirement in the code is that you have to reduce existing nitrogen that's run off from the site by 55%, and you have to reduce the existing phosphorus that's leaving the site by 80%. And then the last incentive recommendation here is really that the county works with private developers to find grants or other funding to really revamp some old ponds. As you guys know, Pinellas County is very much built out. There's lots of old ponds that are not functioning as well as they should be and could really be revamped and help the water quality in our area. if they just, were incentivized to provide that. Okay, moving on. So this is the most technical part of it because these are the technical updates. So I'll try to keep it high level, but if you have questions, please. So one of the bigger changes that we're recommending is that the code implements a small site, large site criteria. So currently all sites that don't meet the exemption criteria have to achieve the same water quality requirements. With our recommendation, small sites, anything 1 acre or less, would just need to demonstrate that there is either a net improvement on site for the discharged nutrients or that they meet the minimum state requirements of presumptive criteria is what it's called. So there's basically a rule of thumb that all engineers are very familiar with. This code update or this particular rule is very in line with state regulations. More than half the water bodies in Pinellas County are verified impaired water bodies, so a net improvement would be required at a state level regardless. So this really does go in line with state regulations. For large sites, we're not proposing any change, so anything 1 acre or larger would still need to meet these treatment criteria that is currently set forth, but kind of going hand in hand with all of our other recommendations, there's a greater amount of flexibility and options for them to kind of, help with that, meet that that goal.
Okay, so there's what we have in place today on a particular site, say a 20-acre retail center built 50 years ago, 40 years ago. It has a huge parking lot out front. There's no stormwater. So all of the rains, anything that happens runs right off. It's collected and goes right into the intercoastal waterway. So any nutrients or anything that we're collecting along the way, it's dumped directly in. So along comes a developer who wants to do something with that 20 acres. And we're not comparing to, on the smaller acreage, you're comparing to what was. Mm-hmm. We're not doing that with a large development like that. So in that large development, we're having to meet not only an improved standard over what was there, because you've done that in the small acreage, right? You're allowing a lot more flexibility if it's under an acre. Mm-hmm. Yes?
Yes.
So what's the rationale if it's 20 acres and they're still collecting, some, all the runoff, so there is some of that capture of nutrients, right?
Right, absolutely. So kind of the difference here is that we know that I mentioned it earlier, but regional or large scale stormwater management systems do a much better job at removing nutrients. The improvement here that we would see from capturing runoff from a 20-acre site would drastically improve the nutrients that go into, the intercoastal and would improve that water quality. It really is a matter of the loading that is being provided on these sites and discharging and leaving those areas.
I would also clarify that on a large site, even if it's not dependent upon a regional stormwater facility, there's much greater opportunity to set aside some of that for retention ponds, where on a small site, the cost of land is just too great. So in almost every case on a small site, the improvements are going to be subsurface, and that's addressed in here. But on a large site, there's going to be much greater flexibility as to the different tools and approaches to stormwater management.
There certainly would be greater flexibility, no question, but it's still expensive dirt, expensive land that's being set aside. So back again to the comment about more than, again, when you talk about reductions, are we talking about reductions in the pond size?
Yes.
Yeah, okay. So a large development's going to take a larger size pond?
Yes.
Okay.
So some of these other technical updates are being recommended so that even on large sites, engineers and developers have opportunities to basically shrink the pond footprint that is required by the code, but still able to capture, treat, and maintain the volume of runoff that is required to meet the code.
So what does one of these 3-tier systems take up in term versus just the singular pond? I mean,
So I think the 3-tier or 3 process is an oversimplification, because one of the ways of treating stormwater without losing any development density, by way of example, in a large shopping center, is that in a redevelopment, you would create, instead of raised medians between each of the parking rows, you'd create what's called the bioswale. No additional cost. It's the same footprint. That bioswale and landscape treatment is going to be that first tier of treatment, which is going to be significant at no additional cost. It's just implementing green infrastructure as part of the site plan design. So there are ways of actually implementing some of this process without any additional cost. I think what you'll hear as Alice goes through the remainder of these technical updates, that just within a couple of these, there are big cost savings to be realized. And that when you take this whole package in aggregate, there's a lot baked in here.
Okay, I'll have some other questions.
Just to go back and answer your question on what that looks like on a site, as an engineer, you generally would use 18 to 20% of your site should be a stormwater management facility.
That one site that I was describing where it had very little pervious area, right? Now, with development today, the pervious area is much greater. Do they get credits for that too?
Oh, absolutely. Okay. So I should mention that the 5580 is an achievement, and it's used in a program that does take into consideration the pre-development condition of the site.
Okay. So
if it is fully developed, there's an offset there.
Okay.
Okay, so moving on, the exfiltration vault and chamber design standards. This recommendation is to allow for the engineers and developers to be able to utilize the void space volume within rock that's used in these underground systems. So I'm not sure if you're very familiar with these underground systems that are pretty popular, but they're essentially half pipe, pipes cut in half that are utilized as volume. But in order for them to be structurally sound underneath, say, a parking lot, there's a large stone that's basically set at the bottom of them and around them and on top of them. These stones have quite a bit of space in between them because they are large, and that area between those stones does actually account for quite a bit of volume. So the way the code is currently interpreted right now is that the void space cannot be used as a part of the design volume from an engineering perspective. This is not very common in our area. Almost all of the surrounding jurisdictions allow for up to 30% of this void space to be used. And so that's what our recommendation is here. This will allow a greater flexibility in utilizing these underground systems and will result in very substantial cost savings for using these underground systems.
Are they restricted in use depending on the water table?
Absolutely. So these systems require that they're a foot above the groundwater or that they're wrapped in a liner. So, and then you would have to do buoyancy calcs if say, they were set below the water table.
So probably something that will help me, and we'll ask it at the end, is there's a expert group that we have gathered together. I think it used to be referred to as the DCAG, that have a little bit more technical expertise than I do, because we ask questions that I know that you guys kind of chuckle at, but they have other questions that are a lot more to the point. Have they been presented with these recommendations?
Yes. Do you want me to answer? Yeah, yes. So we've had two public meetings that the first one we just received feedback from them, and they were, of course, invited and attended. And then the second one where we presented these recommendations. Our recommendations have been slightly updated since that meeting. We've removed a couple and updated a couple based on their feedback and from feedback from staff as well.
So do we have those minutes of feedback from those meetings?
In the report, the finalized report, we have feedback from the attendees of those meetings, kind of bulleted, not by name, but
So there's been some additional changes. Is there going to be another meeting with DCAG or to present the final ones?
there is not one planned.
This was intended to be the final staff. There is coincidentally a DCAG meeting tomorrow, and I was going to provide an update exactly as to what was included in the final report as well as what was presented to you today.
Okay, so you had presented before, there's been some minor changes, you said. I think you said. So that will be presented tomorrow to the DCAG.
Yeah, that will be clarified to them tomorrow, yes.
Okay, all right. And then we'll capture those comments as well.
Well, their comments, if there are comments, would be part of what I would characterize the implementation steps, which I'll cover as part of the last slide.
All right.
Anyone else have any questions? Thank you,
yes.
Commissioner.
Yes, Madam Chair. I think it's really important to get the input from the DCAG group. I mean, they're way more versed in these details than we are. And I don't know if it's the right time to get into this, but I have some real concerns with the cost tables that are in the manual there, because I'm not certainly an expert in that area. So I asked a contractor who regularly bids jobs with these types of things in it. And the feedback that I got is that the pricing that's indicated in there is way off. And as a couple of examples here, so the price for 18-inch concrete pipe is at $75 a linear foot, adjusted for inflation, and he says we bid $103 a linear foot last week. The price for 24-inch concrete pipe is noted at $112 a linear foot, and they bid $130 last week. And manholes are at least twice as expensive as are shown. Metered end sections are 3 times more. Sod is 2.5 times more. So I've got some real concerns with the cost estimates that are in there. And I think before we implement anything, we have to understand what the true cost of it is going to be. So I definitely have some questions and concern in that.
Absolutely. Quickly on this, I know that we've seen quite a bit of inflation, and that translates, of course, into material costs that we're seeing kind of all throughout the industry. But I think what those cost tables are trying to nail down is that there's really those items that especially you just listed, those manholes, those pipes, those types of things would be required in any development. So the difference in essentially land acreage to have a stormwater pond that meets the current criteria, or these kind of additional green infrastructure products are really what kind of offset that cost. And that's kind of what those tables are trying to achieve. But I do agree that they could be updated to the current costs. I
just think it's important for us to know what could be potentially added to the cost of redevelopment.
Sure.
I just think that's really important to have. So do we have any, since the existing manual, I think, was updated in 2017, I heard?
It was initially adopted in 2017. It was updated in 2021.
Okay. Do we have any real project cost data to show, what the upgrades have cost in terms of redevelopment? Because, I mean, I've heard the same stories that Commissioner Peters was talking about, is how expensive it is to redevelop here. And we all want to improve water quality, but we also want to make it so developers want to take old things and make them nice again. And if we put too many barriers and cost structures in front of that, it's going to create a problem.
In the report that was provided, I don't know if you got a chance to look at it, but there is a cost section that kind of breaks down. It is in line with what is currently in the manual and outlined there, but there are pretty significant increases. I think one is, and I don't have it in front of me, but I believe it's like 223% increase for redevelopment to meet the, essentially like low-intensity development or green infrastructure to meet the standards.
Did we, with those cost assessments, did we do that internally? Did we get an economic impact study done?
We didn't. We did a high-level review of like economic impact, if you will, and we're able to look at trends and then kind of interpolate costs based on inflation. And
Should we get an economic impact study done?
I think, you want to take that one?
I'm going to take a step back because again, I started to say there's a lot baked in to this full menu. I want to point to just one of the technical updates that Alex covered, which has to do with probably one of the most common engineering solutions for many of the properties in the county, which is this vault, it's actually a chamber system with aggregate. We've done some additional coordination with one of the primary vendors and had information provided back that there would be a cost savings in excess of 50% of that system just with this one technical update being implemented. So I really believe that there is a lot here from flexibility to technical updates, and it was really my final remarks, which are that where I started, which is that we should bring these online and monitor these and just see how effective or ineffective they are. But there's a lot here. There's a lot here, a lot of relief for small sites. There's relief for large sites. There's a lot of technical updates. I really believe it changes the entire approach that has been constraining to the development community. But there's a lot here, and I really believe it's kind of reached that balance to see. Let's see how these play out.
How often do we update this? Or, I mean, it was 2020, so when?
It was updated in 2021. This is a perfect case that we want to stay close to this. I mean, clearly, all of these development applications pass through DRS, and where we have ongoing meetings with DCAG, we'll be able to get that continual feedback and provide guidance as to when we need to look at this again, whether it needs to come back. I mean, that's one of the ultimate recommendations here, is that we stay very close to this and monitor that and take that guidance as to whether we have to revisit it again.
Also, I love how engaged you are, because we're going to mention that in the next slide. So you guys are just really ahead of it. So I'll just keep going quickly through these. The next one is actually a more stringent recommendation to the current code, which is that we would like to implement that a routing model or utilizing kind of a computer model system is encouraged for stormwater calculations for any site that's over 5 acres instead of the 10. This is really going to be beneficial for the county because it really improves the model accuracy of the discharge that you guys are going to see. It'll really improve understanding kind of flooding upstream and downstream from sites, which is why it's our recommendation. Moving on, the vertical wall requirements. The current code allows for 25% of a dry pond to have a vertical wall or a steep slope, and up to 50% for a wet pond. So here, kind of in line with what we were talking about earlier about allowing for more site development and increasing kind of the area of the site for use, implementing more vertical wall acre area really reduces the pond footprint of a site, so that you could take that 18% of your site down to 14% per se. We're recommending it go up to 80% and then have a minimum 20-foot maintenance access. As we heard, there was a concern from staff that these ponds that are fully walled are hard to maintain. Moving on, the next two items here are really just code clarifications, if you will. There are already areas within the county that have regional stormwater facilities that have treatment credits kind of built into them. And as engineers or developers, if we don't know where those areas are, then sometimes we're putting ponds in redevelopment sites that don't necessarily need them. So that first one is really just making sure that in the code it's really clear, or that there's access online to be able to identify the sites that are exempt from needing treatment requirements. The one below that is really just adding definitions to the manual that clearly define direct and indirect discharge. As I'm sure some of you have heard, there are sites that are located within incorporated parts of the county, say City of Largo, but ultimately discharge to a county system, and they still have to meet all of the county criteria for stormwater. This is kind of a nuance in the manual. It's been implemented for many years, even prior to the 2017 code, but just having a very clear indication of what is expected of engineers that do ultimately discharge would be helpful. And then the last one here is to allow engineers to use infiltration, groundwater infiltration during a storm or through a stormwater modeling system. Ultimately, this just achieves kind of real world processes. So it would reduce the amount of footprint that's needed for a stormwater pond by taking into account that groundwater, or that water will enter a stormwater pond and then immediately be, percolated into the ground. Currently, there's no flexibility here in the code for this, but in most of the surrounding jurisdictions, they do allow for it with caveats that account for groundwater, for example, require, they call them DRIs, from a geotechnical report and some supporting data. We are recommending that we put a maximum allowable on here. It's still a very good rate. I'd be very happy with it if it was my stormwater pond, so. Our final recommendation is that there's an adaptive feedback process that's implemented. So this really goes back to what we were talking about, how often this manual needs to be looked at. We know that state regulations change. They just went to the legislator earlier this year to, propose new updates to the code. It hasn't been implemented yet, but we know that those are forthcoming. So we know that there's, new improvements and new technologies and methods that get put online all of the time. So we really are recommending that there is a set internal kind of review and update of the manual as things progress and get further along. There's currently an email address that we opened up during this process, this project, to allow people to provide feedback of our current code, or even suggestions on our recommendations, and we're recommending that remains open and is tracked and kind of kept and reviewed on a regular basis.
Final slide. I just want to summarize our proposed implementation steps. I think this is really important. There's 3 separate tracks. There's the immediate track. This is where we believe that through an administrative policy updates, there are provisions in the manual that we can go in at this time. We can update those and bring immediate relief, and particularly cost relief, to, again, probably to the most common solution being utilized, which are these chamber systems in Pinellas County. So we're really anxious to try to move that as part of that first track. The second track is the code update. This would capture the vast majority of the recommendations. This would go through its traditional path of DRC, the LPA, and then to you for adoption. And we think that could happen on an expedited manner. And then there's the last few, again, that we think there's some real opportunity there. They just need a greater degree of collaboration between the various county departments. And that concludes the presentation.
Thank you. Any further questions from the commissioners? Thoughts, comments, anything? Commissioner Justice?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Just on the process, so some of these you'll do immediately through your policy, and then what will have to come back, or if any, will come back to the commission? Is that the code?
It's the code, yeah. The manual is part of the land development code, so it would come back through in a traditional fashion as you would see land development code updates.
Okay, very good.
Anyone else? Commissioner Eggers?
So when these are ready, these code changes are ready, are they going to be brought back to us when they're ready, and they're not going to be lumped in with a whole bunch of other?
Yeah, your idea is to bring these forward as a group just on these this year, correct?
It is a standalone application.
Okay. Yeah, and you mentioned in your conversation that we have over 50% of our water bodies are considered impaired. And that hasn't changed in the 6 years since we've been monitoring that, right? I mean, that
No, it hasn't changed.
And I do think that in this county, which just about every development is redevelopment, that the standards that we have, before I ask that question, the standards that we have, I'm assuming, are in line with SWIFMUD standards, or are they more stringent from a phosphorus and nitrogen standpoint?
More stringent. So as an example, I explained the 5580, that's the current county standard for any site that doesn't meet current exemption criteria, which the exemption criteria is pretty limited at the moment. For SWIFMUD, if you discharge to an impaired water body, so more than half of Pinellas County, it would require a net improvement. So the difference there, while they can be similar, a net improvement is just that you don't do any worse than is currently leaving your site, versus Pinellas County, which is mandating a percentage improvement.
So they're not doing anything worse, speaks to redevelopment. So really it's ours is considerably more stringent.
Yes, as far as nutrients are concerned, yes.
In terms of nutrients. And that really does create problems also when you are in an unincorporated area and you are next to Largo, let's say, and they're trying to do some development on their property, and then they run into I'm assuming that theirs aren't as stringent as ours, but I don't know that.
Correct. So in the report that we provided, we did review SWIFMUD plus 6 other kind of local and surrounding jurisdictions, and City of Largo was one of them. None of the surrounding jurisdictions that we reviewed have as stringent nutrient requirements as Pinellas County. And to your point, sometimes development within City of Largo that discharges to Pinellas County do require the improvements that are based in the manual, which is why one of the recommendations is to make it very clear what a direct and an indirect discharge is. So an example of that would be if you're in the City of Largo, but you're basically attaching a pipe from your pond as your discharge to, say, a county roadway inlet, that would be a direct discharge, right? I don't think you can really argue that. Versus kind of overland flowing and then getting into a ditch that then enters an inlet that happens to be the county's. So I think that the way that the code is currently written, there's some loose interpretation of what a direct discharge is and which sites need to meet that criteria. And I think if it's defined more clearly, you'll see that it'll be utilized more effectively.
The last question I had is there was some, all I've heard is that we're more stringent, okay? And then I hear that you're doing something that is going to, but it's good for us, good for developers, that it's going to be more stringent. So the modeling, I think, that you spoke of from 10 to 5 acres, explain that one, how that's better for us if it's even more stringent than we're already dealing with, or developers.
I would love to.
It's not more stringent. That's not the proper characterization. It's basically the engineering methodology will use a more accurate modeling. It's not more stringent. It's not going to add anything further to the treatment or the attenuation. It's strictly the engineering methodology. And this is basic engineering that all of the consultants are aware of.
Okay. Well, again, I think the questioning that we're having here is not that we want polluted waters. We're just trying to make sure that what we're doing is fair and reasonable, and it accomplishes the goals that we're trying to set in this county, of this redeveloping county that has a shortage of land, and making it very costly. And where do those costs go to? They get passed on to tenants, companies, or residents who end up residing in an apartment complex or whatever else. So I just want to make sure that what we're doing ultimately is fair and reasonable, not too stringent, that it makes things, you know, it turns somebody off from doing a development that we really want. And so anyway, those are just things that I worry about when it comes to our stormwater policy. And I've heard from so many people in this industry, that stormwater is the bane of their development process. So, and whether it's the 5580, whether it's whatever it is, it's just very difficult to deal with. Complicated, costly, and more restrictive than what is norm. And I think sometimes we got to be careful where we're coming from. Any improvement will be good. I don't want to say just any improvement is acceptable, but if you go too far, you're really not making it better. You're forcing out good development that we need for our residents to live, to work, to play. So,
Thank you, Commissioner. And that message was heard loud and clear, and the menu that's here is intended to bring that relief and to find that balance to not compromise the county's goals, but yet be responsive to the development community.
be real interested to hear DCAG's final thoughts on this. So, but I appreciate both of your presentations this morning.
Commissioner Latvallow?
Thank you very much, Madam Chair. And to that point, I hope that y'all will take DCAG's thoughts tomorrow at heart. And if they have further recommendations, I hope they are considered and added to the policy recommendations that y'all have made.
Commissioner Scott, and then Commissioner Flowers.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So establish a regular interval to review and update the stormwater manual. It's mentioned 5 years here. I would think 2 or 3 would be better to make sure that we're not, that we're on point and we're not overburdening, we're not overdoing it, and we're not adding costs that we don't need to add. And then establish a set of clear and measurable metrics that can be used to evaluate the effectiveness of the stormwater manual. Do we not have that now?
Well, the metric, the most meaningful metric is going to be the data, again, that we know is going to take longer to get back with regard to the water quality trending.
So is that, so the metrics is the water quality, then what is
Well,
that, what is establishing, what does that look like? Put some, define that.
Well, that's one of the I believe, the key metrics, of course, is that water quality data. But the data would also look to continue to track whether or not there is a pronounced change in development activity in the county. This is about, again, understanding the economic trends as well as ultimately the core goal of the environmental side. So that would be part of the tracking too. We want to make sure that, again, we're incentivizing redevelopment in the county.
Commissioner, wait a minute, sorry, Barry, and then Commissioner Flowers. if we
Commissioner,
may.
to your point, my intent is to keep the DCAG going, okay, and to continue to get their ongoing feedback, which is kind of where some of this has been generated over the last several years. The 2021 update was actually designed to add flexibilities, not increase regulation or oversight. And so it provided some relief and options thinking, which has been, I think, the biggest change in our development process is to get, when you sit down with someone, a lot of times you're trying to fit a square peg in a round hole, and to work with them to find a solution that both meets the intent, but gives them flexibilities on how we get there. And so I think that that's going to continue. This is going to add a lot of flexibility for staff to be able to sit down and figure out site-specific issues. But we can have that ongoing feedback through DCAG, through the development community. We've actually, Tom and Kevin have also been having a much greater conversations with the area Builders Association, or I forget what group it is, but they've attended their meetings also to say, let us hear from you. Let us hear about the challenges and why it's easier here than here, you know, and there's differences. You know, if you go north and you've got all farmland around you, it's a little different than a site that we're developing. So I think this will give a lot of flexibilities, but it doesn't mean that we're not going to continue to listen to see what challenges people are having, and then take those under consideration and not be scared to bring back additional recommendations as we move forward on this implementation.
Thank you. Commissioner Flowers.
Barry answered some of what I was going to.
Okay, Commissioner Justice.
Thank you. And Barry, I think that's, your point is exactly where we need to be. Of that site-specific flexibility is fine, to where we're not saying it has to be met, the goals have to be met this specific way on each site, but there's that opportunity for staff to work with the developer to make it work. But that water quality goal is still paramount. That water quality goal is still critical. And so that is always going to be forefront for me. And I think if you read the article this morning, paper about the Supreme Court rolling back wetland protections, it's something that always needs to be kind of on our radar.
And commissioners, on this, you know, if you talk to 10 people, you're going to get different types of feedback. And, you know, and I've been, and I know you hear it directly, but, you know, I've seen different things. The idea is we've got to, you know, we're trying to work hard on our permitting process to get early assistance, to get them setting down early in the design. And we actually require that now on these sites to say, let's talk about the issues that are going to come up. Because this is a major issue with redevelopment. And so, but we've also seen where, you know, we had a neighbor that, you know, was involved in a lawsuit with the neighbors because their site drained onto them as they built, you know? And so, you know, there's a lot of different things out there. We need to work with the development community, but the development community also needs to step forward and work to make sure that they're trying to address some of the challenges. Some of the permitting issues that we hear, they come in late and they don't try to, you know, get feedback early on. And we've also seen with our staff, we got to work with our project managers. Now that we have project managers that can walk them through all the different departments and speak with one voice. That helps them. We know that. We're working hard to improve upon that. So it's going to be a combination of all these things that is going to make it for a better development process. I don't think there's any one silver bullet, but this will be a major step forward.
Anyone else? Oh, Commissioner Eggers.
Yeah, thank you. So I think the things that, you know, we get introduced when we have these presentations again and again, I think is helpful for us. The difference in restrictions that SwiftMud, a state agency, provides versus what we provide, with no real way of monitoring improvements, concerns me. So it takes 20 years to find out whether the ones that they're monitoring and their restrictions are doing what needs to be done. So that's just the first comment. And the second one I would say is, do we have a sense that SwiftMud's standards are changing towards a more restrictive standard so that we're ahead of the curve a little bit or not? So maybe you just respond to that and then I'll be done.
So the regulation that Alex had referenced that was up in Tallahassee but didn't go to the finish line would actually bring stormwater treatment standards more stringent than Pinellas County today. We know we don't want to be presumptive, so we're working with what we have in place right now. But what was advanced would be more stringent than what we have here today.
So, Commissioner Eggers, could you please direct your questions through the chair? That would
Well,
be
I was
great.
just, we were talking. Can I
I
ask
know.
another question then?
Yes,
Thank you.
please.
So to that point, so right now, the standards are lower. There's discussion about raising them to a level that would be more restrictive or higher standards than what we have. That's what you're saying?
Yes,
And then we would have to meet their standards. So we have to meet their standards unless ours are higher.
correct.
So if they got higher than ours, then we would have to raise our standards to theirs.
Yes,
But in the meantime, our standards are higher than theirs and have been for some time.
yes.
Okay, thank you.
Anyone else? I do think it's important to, I'm very proud of the fact that we're bringing this back and talking about it today, because I remember when I first came on the county commission, Commissioner Justice may remember it as well, the stormwater management policy in our comprehensive plan had not been addressed in decades. And so there was a lot to do, and obviously it was costly to do it, number one. And number two, we knew then that we would need to be continuously looking at this as technology changes, as things change in our county. And it's all just part of the results of incredible growth 20-something years ago when we didn't know everything that we know today. I think it's important to think about that as we move forward and how difficult it is to create a balance to ensure that we're continuously moving forward.
Thank you.
So, anything else for the good of the order? No? Okay.
All right.
And so, Barry, the next on our
All
agenda.
right, guys, thank you so
Thank
much.
you.
More to come. So the next item up is our CRA. So Lealman and Chris Moore and Joe with St. Petersburg Foundation are on the way up.
Morning, Commissioners, County Administrator.
Good morning.
I think it's a shining example of the complex and diverse material that comes before you any given day. See my utilities colleagues here. I think you have more to come, but I hope I'll be able to activate a very different part of your brain, but still very complex. You know, the purpose today here is to talk about highlights from our FY23 work plan, some items we're proposing for FY24. We also have our partners here with the Community Foundation of Tampa Bay and the St. Petersburg Foundation to give you some highlights about the first year of implementing the strategic plan at the Lealman Exchange. So this is a slide many of you have seen before, some new members, but these are the 9 objectives, sort of the guiding principles of our CRA redevelopment plan. So all CRAs have to have a redevelopment plan. The work you do and the money you spend has to tie back to it. As you'll see on our work plan, every project or program ties back to at least one, if not 2 or more of these objectives. These are the grant programs that we'll be going through today, as well as some other capital projects. So the first one's the residential improvement program, really familiarly known as the facade program. So site improvements, facade improvements, capped at 120% of area median income. Currently, it's a $10,000 grant. Right now, we have we've funded 90,000, a little more than that this year, 8 more that have been approved under contract, and folks have a notice to proceed for 80,000, and then 15 more applications working their way through the pipeline, collecting bids and so forth. Similarly, the commercial improvement program, so site improvements, facade improvements. This one also does include some interior improvements that are intended to extend the economic viability of the building. The site improvements are particularly helpful, we have found. A lot of investment in the industrial area, but bringing properties up to current code with the conversation we just had can be challenging and costly, so this has helped a lot of business owners open up in the Lealman CRA. So we've funded 2 applications, 3 more, again, notice to proceed sent out, and then we have 1 more that's come in that could receive potentially up to the full 40,000.
Hey, Chris, just a quick question. The grant funds, are these state funds, or are they local funds?
This is the tax increment financing. So the CRA is established, over a 30-year period. In year 0, you have your base value, the aggregate property value for that entire footprint. And each year you have an incremental rise in your increment, the tax increment funding. So that's the TIF. And that's what all ties back to your redevelopment plan. So these are all before you today, TIF or CRA investments.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Anyone else while we're in the pause here for a moment? No? Please continue.
So this is the home investment program. This was a big win this year. So Habitat for Humanity, I think some of you are in the photo there. This was, may have been their 800th home, but they've had a few big celebrations. This is a program that provides them up to $15,000 for hard construction costs and $40,000 toward land acquisition costs. They were able to build 15 homes in Lealman this year. In the first year, drew down their full allocation of $500,000. Obviously helping a lot of families, but even more so, 10 of those or so are on a 2-block radius right there at 54th and 28th Ave. So you saw a dramatic improvement in a condensed area. So you really saw the impact there. This is the alley improvement program. So this is funding to clear out some of the partially or completely obstructed alleys, and also just provide general maintenance of the others. You're really kind of a theme here throughout that we've talked about over the years, just really focusing on improving the overall aesthetic of the community, just to the extent that you can clean up the community, no different than a spring cleaning at your house, and you feel that sense of reward, and you can really change the dynamic in the community. And this one, the pictures are really valuable to see. It creates a far different space when it's cleared out like that. The events program was a huge hit today. I want to thank ACA Almonte for leading that charge. This community established an engagement committee, folks volunteering their time to help plan these events. The CRA contributed $20,000, but brought in far more in private investment to pull these events off. And I want to thank our partners here, the Community Foundation of Tampa Bay, for donations, Habitat for Humanity, Crown Automotive Group, Duke Energy, and I think I've got them all, but just a big win. Started off with the holiday tree lighting event, Honey and Arts Festival. You had Lealman's own Pink Streets, a Lealman resident and a band playing there. I think that's a fun accomplishment. And then 4th of July, I was celebrating with fireworks. So that was really meaningful to the community, and more than just that, you see the term promotional there. And we heard many, many, many times, I didn't know this park was here. I didn't know this park was here. But that's the point in many ways, in addition to celebrating with the community, but to promote the community, the park, the investments we have to come follow. So again, a very big win. The mural program, this is Creative Pinellas has led this work over the years, and these are the 3 that were completed this year. Really a lot of success, a lot of folks in the community really appreciate these. That center one is Lealman Innovation Academy, and I've seen a lot of school murals, and I may be biased, but that one is pretty remarkable. They worked with the students in the school, helped them in the design process, and that mascot, the cougar, learned that its eye patch is intentional. It's to represent the students both being fierce and strong, but also vulnerable at the same time. So it's a pretty. Really appreciate Creative Pinellas and the muralists taking that extra step to integrate the students there. That's Tommy Todd Nursery. You saw that one previously. It is facade improvement as well. And then the one on the right there is, it's called Altier St. Pete. It's a pottery studio, a young couple that opened up offering pottery classes. Husband designs pottery tools. And, the feedback early on we got from the advisory committee was to try to co-locate these in an area where you could, again, feel the difference, see the difference. And we've been successful at that. There are now 3 on 28th Street. There are now 2 on Haynes Road. And if you know Haynes Road with the form-based code, again, what that is intended to support is that artisan, community. And it's nice to see those folks already moving into town with Altier St. Pete there. So we're very happy with the results of that program. The wayfinding signage, this one has been quite the journey. The wayfinding signs have been up for quite some time. The street signs have been up as well. Really want to thank our public works crew for making those in-house. The wayfinding, the gateway signs are welcome to Lealman. 3 of those have been installed. We've been working with we worked with the Small Business Enterprise List, a fantastic program to help support small businesses, but they also tend to have their challenges. And so we've been working with that company. They've had supply chain issues, labor issues, but we're still working toward getting the last 7 signs installed. That also features Lealman's logo. I can't forget that, and that was designed by county staff. A really positive experience going through the community engagement process there as well. This is a project that, in all told, has occurred over FY22 and FY23. You see there to the left 3 contiguous parcels that the county owns. One is a parking lot entrance to Neary Park, a stormwater pond that you can see there in the photos, overgrown with algae, and then a vacant parcel to the right. So in prior years, we repaved the parking lot. Again, that notion of cleaning up the community, Public Works restored the pond from a stormwater perspective. You truly saw turtles and birds, the habitat coming back to that pond. It was pretty cool. The playground equipment was the improvement this year to finish it off. That's directly across from the Habitat for Humanity development at 43rd Street, so they'll be literally able to walk across the street, but also a theme with the CRA, just being able to use strategic funds, almost a surgical tool. You have, the finance term would be leveraging. You have these other projects, great projects that are going on, but we have an opportunity to supplement those with additional investment. And here, this really balanced out the master plan. The playground equipment in the master plan is all to the north. If you lived in that habitat development without this, you had to walk quite a long way to access that playground equipment. So really trying to leverage these other investments with the CRA funds. This is another Neary Park entrance at Lone and 40th Street. So we put in new signage, new fencing, seating area, bike racks, water feature, and leveraging master plan investments. And again, this was a sidewalk connection leading from that entrance out to 46th Ave, where we will have, an ARPA-funded project to put a sidewalk on 46th. So connecting the dots, if you will. And the work plan we have, so we've worked this through our advisory committee and really want to thank that group tremendously. We've had at least 3 meetings, I'd say, where we've brought iterations of the work plan, including last night. But the work plan before you today that was included in your packet has received the full support from the advisory committee as of last night. And these are 4 amendments proposed that we wanted to highlight and discuss with you all. So the thinking is, as in years past, we present this to you if you have any questions and so on, but at a future meeting, perhaps either August or September, we'll bring you the actual work plan back at a regular meeting where you can adopt it. So wanted to talk through the proposed changes and any other questions you may have. The first one up is the master plan for Joe's Creek Industrial Park. We also have Ford Pinellas here. I think he's going to touch on this topic. The TEAL study, Target Employment Industrial Land Study, I believe will be before you August 15th for adoption. So we have, if that were to be activated, we would have started looking at potential for a master plan there. Ford Pinellas is requiring a visioning study. Our effort, we needed it on our own as well. This is an area of high potential within the CRA for a variety of different reasons. It's a complex issue, a lot of really complex impediments to redevelopment that exist there. But in many ways, this will also be setting the table for the phase 2 of the form-based code. But essentially looking at, TEAL's in draft mode has been designated as a target employment center local category, the new category, which would be opening it up to more mixed-use flex development, things like that. So if that's adopted, the master plan would then take a look at, really a market, the land use considerations that would need to be implemented to follow that up. A market analysis, what type of development could we attract with those changes? An infrastructure assessment, what are the improvements we're going to need to set the table for those investments to follow? Lealman Park Phase 2, so the first phase was, this is the park on 54th Ave. The first phase cleaned up the playground, rubberized surface, put in new fencing, landscaping, a variety of improvements there. So the phase 2, we would increase the lighting. There are a few decorative poles there. We would increase, decorative poles throughout, also offer more tower lighting, similar to around the basketball court. But, the holiday tree lighting event was a good example there. It's kind of dark, but lighting would be a needed improvement to continue to activate that space. This would also take a look at a pond that's adjacent to the park. You'd never know it. So if you go down 37th Street, there is actually a pond hidden behind the overgrown invasive species that's at least 50%, if not 2/3 the size of Lealman Park, so a substantial pond. The county owns a few pieces of land right adjacent to it. The pond itself, typically they're owned by a sliver by many different parcel owners surrounding. It's one property owner in this case, but even if they didn't want to see it completely cleared out, we can beautify the area. You'd be able to essentially see the water, have a waterfront park, and that's also an improvement. There's some nefarious activity that occurs when folks can go hide behind the brush and so on. So this would also address that at the same time. Alley program expansion, and we would really need a new name for this program. We got a lot of feedback last night, good feedback from the advisory committee about the term maintenance, and very much wanting to ensure that we're not duplicating an existing service. The CRA is not paying for something that is already done, and what we've communicated to them that there is a current level of service for the stormwater ditches. It's a need of ours, one, to meet the community's expectations, to increase that level of service, but also, again, to spur redevelopment. You really got to clean up the community, make it as aesthetically pleasing as you can to try to attract that investment. So this one, we shared with the advisory committee the work plan. And Carol Strickland explained this very well at a previous meeting. This item will go out to bid. There'll be further discussions about it. So the vote for it at this stage is really just to include it on the master plan and take that next step of exploring more. But I think of it more of a beautification and increasing that level of service. So it's the alleys, stormwater ditches. There's a lot of debris that accumulates, but also Joe's Creek. Joe's Creek, they clean out the goats on a monthly basis, but it fills up very soon after. So to the extent that we can, again, increase that level of service, I think we can help attract investment. Residential improvement modifications, so this is the facade grant program. Typically that grant, the sweet spot, if you will, has been painting the house in a new driveway, really changing that aesthetic again, really trying to get, cars not parked on the grass and so on. But we've seen with the cost increases that folks are having to pick between one of the two now. And from a CRA investment perspective, and also just wanting to serve our residents, it's not the same investment if you only get one of those two. So if you put in you paint the house, but there's cars still parking in the driveway, it still doesn't carry the same emphasis as when you're able to accomplish both. So the proposed item here is to increase that amount from $10,000 to $15,000. Those are all the changes. Happy to talk through anything on the work plan or any other questions you have. I'm going to introduce the partners for an additional presentation on the Lealman Exchange after.
Questions, anyone? Commissioner Justice?
Thank you. I think it was important on the ditch maintenance for folks to understand it's not the basic service, but the enhanced service, because I don't think anyone wants the CRA funds used to pay for the kind of normal things that we would expect anywhere in the county, but for that enhanced level of service that they want for quality of life. So I think that's really important. And I'll wait for the end after the exchange part.
And I would also like to share that Lealman has come a long, long way over the last decade. And when we first started working on this program to really enhance the quality of life there, it was a very impoverished area with high crime and lots of not very nice things happening there. So this is a real testament to what you can accomplish with the CRA to the benefit of the citizens. And I remember Ray Neary bending my ear for years about a community swimming pool for the kids, because so many children in the Lealman area had never, ever been to the beach, and they did not know how to swim. So I was just curious if that is still an issue in the Lealman area with the citizens.
It's brought up frequently. The community has always desired the pool. As you know, in previous discussions, it's very challenging having to close pools and the high level of cost and maintenance and so on. But there are other ways, I think, if not a pool, that we would hope to be able to address that. And, you know, even to that point about folks not being able to, kids not being able to swim, I know one of our partners, the YMCA, has you know, taken kids at their summer camp to swim lessons at the Northeast High School down the road. So, you know, different ways to try to meet that need in the community and address it, but still an ongoing discussion.
Thank you. Anyone else?
Just
Commissioner
a point on
Scott.
that, Madam Chair, is I forget the name of the school. The new school that's going to be opening up down on 62nd Avenue is partnered with the Y, and that's going to have a swimming pool, which is not in Lealman, but it's within striking distance. So that may help, at least for now.
Indeed, thank you, sir.
Anyone else?
So I'd like
I
to
would personally like to commend Commissioner Justice's putting a spotlight on Lealman many years ago. It's really been a terrific accomplishment for that community. So thank you for all of your hard work. And I'm sorry, but you can tell I'm losing my voice. Anything else? There's a second part to the presentation. Well, that's why I'm asking, does any of the commissioners have?
Yeah, so I'll make some introductions. First and foremost, we'll have Amy Ciance and Joe Hamilton with the St. Petersburg Foundation. They have the master lease agreement with the county for the Lealman Exchange, so maintaining the property and providing programming, again, through that collective impact lens, a very structured approach to collaborating. We also have in the room Community Foundation of Tampa Bay, Marlene Spalton and Jesse Coraggio. They were some very early supporters. They've contributed over $200,000 to this effort. But even more important to that, I'd say, lending their expertise in developing collective impact models, which they've done locally. But very much thankful for them being here today and all their support. And with that, I'll turn it over to Amy.
Thank you. Morning.
Good morning, everybody. Thanks for having us here. It has been an amazing year at the Lealman Exchange. Oh, I'm going back. Yeah, I don't do manufactured homes, but thank you. I could talk about anything, but you know.
Well, excuse me, on that question, that leads me to ask, a lot of the manufactured home community that were in, they've been torn down and replaced, right?
Some of the really difficult ones were, yes. Yes, that's been part of the CRA improvement process.
I thought so, I just wasn't sure.
Yeah, and some of that land we've been able to partner with Habitat for Humanity to redevelop as well. So, yeah.
Thank you.
All right. So just over 15 months ago, the St. Petersburg Foundation entered into a unique and an important partnership to implement the strategic plan that St. Petersburg Group created for the for activating the Lealman Exchange facility. For those that don't know, the Lealman Exchange facility was a charter school that was in the heart of Lealman. The charter school went out of business, and the county purchased the facility for the express use of the community. We created a partnership to activate that facility fully as a community center. So in April 1st of 2022, St. Petersburg Foundation, my team, we were fully embedded on property to do two things. We were tasked with two buckets of work. One was to implement a collective impact coalition of service providers to bring services to the Lealman community, and the other was to assume full management of the Lealman Exchange facility. So what is collective impact? For those of you who have not been following, ooh, that got a little squashed. For those of you who have not been following what we've been doing out there, collective impact is, there's a long process of explaining it, but basically it's organizations coming together to play to each other's strengths to provide necessary services to community members. This is not a competitive model. This is where we came into the community. We met the organizations who were doing really, really good work already for many, many years in the Lealman community. Our goal was to partner with them to enhance what they were doing, to promote what they were doing, and to help them increase their capacity to continue to do that good work. At the same time, we created, we did a series of interviews in the community. We did town hall meetings. We did a ton of research and developed sort of a service matrix where we could see the gaps, what wasn't happening, what wasn't being served. And our goal now is to create a large coalition of nonprofit organizations to fill those gaps, to strengthen those existing partnerships, and to continue to enhance our ability to provide services at a centralized location at the Lealman Exchange. To do that, we've activated a governance structure in the first year. That governance structure has created a large activation group, which is kind of a council made up of community leaders, nonprofit organizations who have created partnerships with us already, leadership from the St. Petersburg Foundation, Community Foundation Tampa Bay as our activists and our partners as collective impact consultants. And at the point of creating this report, we had 55 separate organizations involved in one way or another with the Lealman Exchange. Since this report is created, we're now 15 months into this process. I have met with more than 75 organizations that have heard what we're doing in Lealman and raised their hand and said, we're interested, we have services, can we help? Where do we fit in? At the same time, we created a small executive group we call the guiding group. This is a group where we come together about every 6 weeks and do our best to activate some of the great ideas and feedback that we're getting from the large group. We also hired a needs navigator. This is a person who is on property, who is well-versed in all of the network of services in Pinellas County and beyond. Any service that someone comes to the Lealman Exchange for that doesn't either exist on property or exist in the immediate community, our needs navigator connects them with. Through either a warm handshake as a case manager or a direct referral, or literally walking them down the hall and saying, here's CareerSource, let me help you get connected with them to get you on unemployment. Or, here's how we get you food stamps. Our needs navigator position is going to grow in this year 2 as we enter year 2. We have her on staff 1 day a week for year 1. We're going to go full-time for year 2, plus a digital needs navigation piece that we're working on. At the same time we were activating our collective impact process, we were also doing a facility transition with Pinellas County. One of the ways that we found that we could activate the facility more quickly and really take control of creating that community center hub was for the St. Petersburg Foundation to manage the facility ourselves. So on April 1st of 2022, we entered the building, we established our team on site, and by August 1st of 2022, we'd established full management of the facility. So what does that mean? That means kind of soup to nuts, everything. I run and kill spiders in the daycare center. I was just texting about an AC issue in our facility on the 2nd floor of our newest building. But at the same time, it also gives me the ability to, find good ways to use the building as outreach and connection to our community. So for example, Florida Dream Center's air conditioning went out. This week, we were able to offer them space to continue their workforce development classes in one of our upstairs classrooms. Those are the ways that we're activating that facility in the immediate without even hesitating. If we have the space and there's a partner organization that needs it, we will jump in and help them. We've also, in the process of doing this, created an enhanced tenant experience. I'll talk about that in a couple of minutes. We found efficiencies in running the facility. In year 2 now, we've hired a full-time facility manager. And we've been able to expand that facility use into rentals. So community members who want to use the space we have a great meeting room, which we've lovingly named the Neary Event Room. So any of our community members who are interested in using the space for baby showers or birthday parties, we have the ability now to rent that space out. We also have the ability to partner with other organizations in using our gymnasium, which is a fantastic facility in the community. When we started on property, we already had a few important anchor tenants, not tanker tenants, anchor tenants, one of which was the YMCA, who's proved to be a really, really strong partner. What was important for us is to embrace the current tenants in the facility, make sure they knew they were part of this partnership, part of the collective impact, and also make sure that they had a good running facility with immediate response to issues and challenges, that was clean, and it was, air conditioned in the summer and heated in the winter. So we created a tenant operations group. We meet about every 6 months, where we make sure we're all on the same page with safety and security procedures. We've created a tenant handbook. We also have updated a lot of our lease agreements so that our tenants, when they are, even our current tenants, but are also our new tenants, are more fully aligned with what we're trying to accomplish being here in the Lealman community. We've established new security protocols on property. While the community center is not a school, we do have 2 schools on property. So we have a charter school on property, the Broach School, now the CES Academy, and a daycare center. So safety and security is extremely important to us. We have also partnered with the Pinellas County Sheriff's Office to do annual active shooter training with every tenant in the building. We do monthly fire drills, and we have the fire chief out with us all the time, checking and make sure we're staying in code. We've created enhanced communication tools for our tenants so that they can tell us quickly if there are any issues on property, and we can address those right away. And we've we created a shared booking calendar so that the amenities that are built into the community center can be used by the tenants. Since taking over, we have had the opportunity to expand our tenant pool. AmSkills was someone who just came to us on a regular basis to provide workforce development programming. They are now a tenant. They have 2 laboratory spaces upstairs in Building A and a classroom. So their boot camp starts in August, and they'll stay with us for the next several years. YMCA, who was an anchor tenant when we first started, has expanded some of their services. We've been able to partner with them on a lot more than what they were initially doing when we arrived. It's become a very, very strong and mutually beneficial partnership that has provided senior movement classes to the community, Silver Sneakers, Delay the Disease, which is a Parkinson's prevention program. We also have open gym nights for the community that the YMCA helps staff. And we have other expanding opportunities to bring the YMCA into this community center relationship. Their Y Reads program administrative offices have moved into Building A upstairs and have rented 7 classrooms and turned them into offices. We've also partnered with St. Petersburg Free Clinic. They are who is providing our needs navigator personnel. They have also rented office space with us. And then Broach, which is now called CES Academy, has expanded to take over all of Building C, and they are in the process of increasing their registration. We're also partnering with them to reach out directly to the Lealman community to try to increase their representation of Lealman students. New funding partnerships. Again, when I got to about 6 months into this project, I really thought I was going to have to start knocking on doors, making phone calls, reaching out to area organizations and sort of begging for help. That was absolutely the opposite experience for me. Organizations came to us They want to partner with the Lealman Exchange. They know what we're trying to do in the Lealman community. So this has been a very exciting year for partnerships. Duke Energy awarded us a $10,000 communications grant, which we've reinvested in the facility for the community. St. Petersburg Free Clinic is contributing $10,000 to our kitchen remodel. When we moved in, the kitchen was a very, very basic shell, barely a catering kitchen. With the help of the Free Clinic, a donation from the YMCA, partnership with emergency management, and funding from the CRA, we're just about to start construction on that kitchen space to enhance it to become a commercial level catering kitchen. This will do a couple of great things. It will help us provide meals for the children who are on property through school food catering programs. And also it will get us up to code with emergency management. As a shelter facility, we'll have a much better kitchen facility to offer food to people who are sheltering with us during emergencies. In that same conversation, one of the meetings I had was with the American Heart Association. I was telling them about the opportunities we're going to have with that kitchen. And in that very first meeting with them, they said, you know what, we have funding we haven't spent. Our fiscal year's almost over. Can I buy your refrigerator? And I said, absolutely. So I sent them a link. They ordered us our commercial refrigerator, and it just got delivered a couple of weeks ago. Also, by increasing our tenant rental, we have increased our rental income in year one. We look forward to continuing to increase that in year two. All of that funding goes back into programming. And we are developing a partnership with the Tampa Bay Partnership for additional funding opportunities for year two. A key part of this process of becoming embedded in the Lealman community and being their center of community activity was to reach the community itself. If any of you have done any work in Lealman, you'll know that this is not the easiest project to tackle. They're a tough nut to crack. I'm allowed to say that. I'm a Lealman resident. I'm a newbie. I've only lived in Lealman for 20 years. My husband's family is 5th generation now in Lealman. So obviously this project hits a lot of key points with me on a personal level. One of the really big things that we needed to do was launch the LealmanExchange.org website. We've created the Lealman Exchange website to be a communication tool for that community center, for the Lealman community, not just about what's happening in the facility itself, but making sort of a key touch place for all of the things that are happening in the community. And all of our service partners have landing pages that we link to everything that's going on there. That wasn't enough. What we determined was the Lealman community, as proud as they are and with such a distinct personality that they had, needed their own voice. So we partnered with the St. Pete Catalyst and St. Petersburg Group and developed the Lealman Voice newsletter. Right now, this is a bi-weekly newsletter. We're hoping to expand that. That is by Lealman for Lealman. We do have contributing authors on some of the articles that are published in it, but primarily it's about Lealmanites. That's what the Lealman locals are called. We profile a Lealmanite every 2 weeks in each issue. We also talk about the events that have happened in Lealman. We share our partners' stories. We share our wins. We celebrate all the good things that are happening in the community so we can really focus on the positive and move forward from some of the difficulties the neighborhood has had in the past years. We've also built a social media presence. So these are really important. These are key structures that we've developed in year one that will take us into year two on our communications. Curtain capital projects that are happening on the property itself. The outdoor basketball courts are currently under construction. We look forward to them being finished. That's going to be a great asset for the children and the community once those are upgraded. Obviously, we're starting our kitchen upgrade. That's going to happen any day now. We're in the process of enhancing our security features, all new security cameras and access controls. Again, this is just tying into, we have a lot of licensure on property because of the daycare and the school. We need to make sure we stay in code. We need to make sure we're up to date with all of those things. And also, we have literal infants on property. You know, the daycare center is 2 months old to 3 years old. We want to keep everybody safe. So this is all tied to that. We've made a few upgrades to the NERI event room. We've purchased some new tables and chairs, and then some additional amenities to make that a more flexible space and easier to use by the community. Future capital projects. As we're in the facility and we've learned sort of the use cases, we're developing a better picture of how the community can best use the building itself. We're planning ahead. So there are some things like the gymnasium is a fantastic facility. The stage is really just a wooden platform. We'd like to do some upgrades there. The restrooms in that facility need to be upgraded. They're dated. They were original to the building from the 1980s. One of the most important things we're planning for year 2 is a monument sign on 54th Avenue North. If any of you have been to the facility, it's kind of tucked back in the neighborhood a little bit. We want to make sure that we get front row advertising for the Lealman Exchange itself and our tenant partners and also our community partners with hopefully an LED component so that we can advertise what's happening at the facility. We've also partnered with Duke Energy to do some necessary lighting upgrades that not only will provide better quality lighting throughout the facility, especially in some of the older sections, but it will be much more eco-efficient. So with that said, our biggest win this year has been some of the amazing events and classes and services we've been able to provide to the community. We've had job fairs, we've had service fairs, we have SPCA partnered with Pinellas County Animal Services to provide mobile pet clinics on Saturdays. We have our needs navigator. We have activated as an emergency shelter twice in 2022. And we have become a satellite library location for the Pinellas County, the Pinellas Public Library Cooperative. So we are actively trying to be front of mind for the Lealman community. We are actually actively making a point to say, this is your building, this is your facility, we want you here, we want you to be our guest. At the time that we created this report, we had upcoming events. Now, 2 of these events have just taken place. Our Lealman STEAM Day. We had a Science Learning Festival Day on the Lealman campus. It was originally planned for outside, but it was way too hot, so we moved it into our gymnasium. We had partnered with Jacobs, who is one of the developers working on the Joe's Creek project, to provide STEAM learning stations for the kids. They had 7 stations that they switched to every 20 minutes. They learned about seagrass, they learned about water runoff, they learned about local flora and fauna. This was all free to the kids. We had 120 children in that gymnasium that day, and then a pizza lunch with a science competition at the end. It was fantastic. And then just earlier this week, in the NERI event room, we hosted Reading with the Rays. The Tampa Bay Rays player came, read with our Lealman students. We had DJ Kitty in the house, and it was a fantastic party. The children, again, 125 children joined us, and this was a combination of our campers on site. It was from Lealman and Asian Neighborhood Family Center. Their campers came. Police Athletic League campers joined us as well, plus local children who aren't in camp. Their parents brought them to the event. This is why we do this, for those kinds of moments, to be able to stand in that room with all those happy kids and, the Tampa Bay Rays representing. So we are looking forward to year 2. We've got so much more to offer the Lealman community, and thank you so much for having me today.
Thank you. Questions, comments? Commissioner Eggers?
Yeah, thank you, Madam Chair. Wow, what a year. I'm just amazed at the different elements that you all are bringing to it. It's almost like property management on steroids. Just so much that is being brought, and not only improving facilities and providing events, providing classrooms, getting outside partnerships for donations. Just an amazing effort, and just piggybacking on what the chair made comments on, the transition that has gone on over the last 8 to 10 years has been just, just so life-changing for a community. And to kind of narrow in on this facility a little bit, because that's your responsibility, how is the tenant income doing as far as meeting your needs, and where's the shortfalls coming for the capital, and where's the shortfall funding coming from for your capital and things like that? And how do you work with the CRA piece?
I'm going to let Joe jump in on this answer too. So we had a budget we built in cooperation with our county team that did include what an estimated amount of annual rent was. We do get a county facility allowance that helps us run the facility outside of the rental income. While the rent is an important piece of it, we've also acknowledged the need to make sure that we're, because we are a nonprofit organization, we are not, the county, we have the ability to go after other philanthropy and other sources of funding. And so we're making an active effort, especially in year 2 as it kicks off, to find alternative resourcing for funds to keep some of this programming going. So far, we've been very blessed with the rental piece. While we still have empty space, for those of you who are not familiar with the facility, we have 3 buildings. We have the gymnasium building. We have the old building, Building C, which is now completely occupied by the Broach School, now CES Academy. But our Building A, which is the 2-story newer facility, has a lot of empty space upstairs. This has not been a hindrance at this point in this process because of the funding that the CRA has committed to us, knowing it would take a couple of years to gear up. But we are hopeful with all of the interest that we've had in that of other nonprofits reaching out to us looking for facilities, that this is not going to be long empty up there. So I think our intention is to be self-sufficient, to build off of the rent income and the alternative philanthropy that we can put together to make sure that it's its own self-sufficient facility in the future.
I mean, just in 1 or 2 years, it's amazing that partnerships that you've created, and I think it really will speak to the long-term success stories that we're going to have there. That as you get a lot of folks, they see success and they want to be a part of it as well. And there's clearly the mission that you all have and the CRA has is just one that people kind of gravitate towards. So I think these are great programs. I think great classes. I really be curious about that AM Skills Boot Camp and what they're actually providing residents, outlets for training, development, and then potentially some jobs down the road that obviously is so critical. So education, training, jobs, elevating folks in the community, which is just amazing. So
thank you. Yeah, it doesn't hurt that it's a beautiful facility. So many people that I do the nickel tour probably twice a week, and almost every organization I bring through there says, oh, wow, I had no idea that this was back here. So we have a lot of interest coming into year 2 of organizations who are just excited about what we're doing there and interested in being a part of that.
yeah. So in addition, just on the funding side, it's important to understand to make sure that we're getting proper funds to the efforts to make sure that it continues that momentum. So I'm assuming that extra funding is coming from the CRA, the TIF piece. Is that right, Barry?
I'll let Chris address it, but I think she just kind of spoke to that. There's an incentive base for them to fill the space, and so we have a contractual relationship with them, but I'll let Chris speak to that.
Yeah, the CRA has made a programmatic funding commitment to the effort. The county also provides an allocation, as Amy mentioned, for contracted services, maintenance, and things of that nature. The CRA has also contributed funding for the kitchen and the basketball courts, for example. That was CDBG funding as well, contributed.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Anything else, Commissioner? Commissioner Justice.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Just to start with, you mentioned about the One Academy reaching out to try and get local. That's what I wanted to talk a little bit about is obviously all the services provided are open to anybody in the county, but do you get a feel for what the actual local use is for Lealman residents, not only the academy, because I know they have some challenges, but in general, as far as all the services offered?
So when we first arrived and started establishing our partnership with the current tenants, some of them did not have hard numbers about exactly how many Lealman community members were being served by their on-site programming. What we have done is we've developed a reporting matrix, and we've incentivized in some cases on our lease agreements that number should increase. So in some of the programming, it's relatively easy to implement that. So for example, we had NACA do several workshops out of Lealman Exchange over the course of 2022. And for those of you who don't know NACA, they're a group that primarily functions in Hillsborough County right now. They want to move into Pinellas County. They convert renters to homeowners with assistance on zero interest mortgages, and they do financial education. They'd never done this before, but at my request they did. They opened their registration only to Lealman for the first 30 days for the programming. And so we could actually track exactly how many Lealman residents took advantage of those programs. And then they always fill up their introductory workshops. So we knew they were going to fill the room. We just wanted to make sure that Lealman had an opportunity to get in there ahead of everyone else, because that's essentially what we're trying to do. Some of our lease agreements, the Broach Academy, now CES Academy, is one of them where we have told them we are partners in helping you reach Lealman students. So we are actively working with them to increase their Lealman-specific registration. Our YMCA Daycare Academy, again, we've had a similar conversation with them to make sure that they're fully servicing Lealman clients if they have that opportunity. Certainly, some of the programming is tied to state and federal funding, and we can't be exclusionary in some cases, but we are doing everything that we can to make sure that our tenants and partners are incentivized.
Yeah, and obviously, and to Commissioner Egger's point, we want to bring in as much revenue as possible, but the point of purchasing this property years ago was not to be real estate managers and be corporate real estate partners. It was to make an impact on the community. And commissioners, if you have a moment to spend with Chris Moore and get him to talk about collective impact, and I say a moment, but you probably need a couple hours, Chris will educate you on what that is and what they're trying to do here, and it's really important. And that's why, again, we don't want to just be real estate partners. We want to be impacting on the community, and you see all the events, and they do a good job on social media of advertising these events. And if you get a chance to go and just stand in the back and watch some of these, the STEAM, the Reading with the Rays, the SPCA days there's a line around the corner with people with their pets to get the services there. So I really just, really proud of all the work that's going on there. And I think, it's always good to take a moment, Mr. Burton, to thank you for the commitment that you've made with your staff. Tom Almonte is boots on the ground there, Chris Moore, and then back when we gave the contract to the St. Pete Foundation, part of that was not just we really needed some outside help in doing the day-to-day, but the firepower that the foundation had in the community and all those different grants that you saw at the beginning that they were able to secure, not only because of their status as 501c3, but actually because of the relationships in the community. That was one of the things that really led me to support partnering with you all. So I wanted to thank you all and Mr. Hamilton and Ms. Ciance, Ms. Spalton with the Community Foundation of Tampa Bay, the YMCA, everyone that's really been a partner in this. That's not to say that we're anywhere near done or where we want to be, but thank you for all the work that you've done to get us to where we are today.
Appreciate that, Commissioner Justice. I wanted to add one more perspective, which I think is a very important one, and that is this has been an experiment in public-private partnerships, which you hear a lot about. Sometimes they work well, sometimes they don't. As the St. Petersburg Group and the St. Petersburg Foundation, which is essentially one organization that has two sides to it, a nonprofit and a private side, this is an important experiment, both of those being dedicated to capacity building. So when we originally had this conversation, it was really just programmatic. And then as we dug in deeper, we said, to really unleash the power of the private elements of it, we need to that's where the facility management piece came in. And that wasn't easy. I mean, this, the county has one billing system, and, electricity's all blended in together, so it was a kind of a pain to separate that out, to allow us to operate as a private operator of the group. And, cheers to Mr. Burton and Tom and Chris. They've just been unbelievable, and for the commission who voted unanimously to give us the chance to run that experiment. And, to your question, Commissioner Eggers, we're on we have initial funding in our budget. We adhere to the budget. We actually don't have a shortfall. We have a surplus. So we've operated it profitably, doing things that are on revenue increasing, cost savings. So, for example, moving everybody onto a centralized cleaning service, building a profit layer into that has allowed us now take that profit and hire a full-time facilities manager that didn't exist before. So, and we got cost savings by moving everybody onto the same program. So essentially, we're net neutral on cost to the tenants, if not saving them, but then got to add a more enhanced cleaning service as well as a full-time person to be there for them. And that's an example of where the private comes in, but we also have the county has our back, and so we know that we're going to get the space to try this and to operate in this way. So, I think it's something that is noteworthy, not only in the area, but perhaps even nationally, that we ran this experiment together, and the county did something it never done before to innovate, and it's really worked so far in the first year. So thanks to everyone.
Hold on one second, please. Commissioner Peters.
I just wanted to echo what you said on, there's an outstanding public-private partnership, and you have really shown us the success model, and so I really look to see how there's other ways that we can expand this kind of model, because I think it's outstanding. So thank you for all your hard work.
We'll be hearing about us at the Science Center soon.
Anyone else at the moment? I would like to follow up on what Commissioner Peters just said, because I remember when I first came on the county commission and Bob LaSala was our administrator, we had a presentation on the 7 pockets of poverty in our county, and Lealman was one of them. And I'm curious if we could take this model and lay it over whatever those pockets of poverty are now.
Absolutely, and that's a conversation we have often. Chris Moore is a big proponent of that as well. Community Foundation, that's the work they do. So we are absolutely going to try and replicate this in other areas because it's working so well.
So is there an opportunity, Barry? Thank you for that. Is there an opportunity, Barry, to have an update on the pockets of poverty today versus where we were all those years ago?
So that study was done some years ago. Lourdes, can you provide any information regarding that? And I think each area is unique in the way that you have a facility, and I think you have to look at it, differently. But go ahead.
Sure. So that Lourdes Benedict, Assistant County Administrator, that report was done actually before I started, and I've been here for about 8 years. So it's been, they've done some updating to it, and I know Tom's group has gotten, I believe a consultant is working on that currently.
Okay.
Yep.
Great. And I stand corrected by Commissioner Justice. It was 5 pockets of poverty, not 7. So, according to Commissioner Justice. Anyone else? I'm sorry? Absolutely. I'm just curious now if we can, maybe, as I said, now that Lealman has been addressed so beautifully, it's a great success model, I think. Commissioner Eggers?
Yeah, I think some of these areas, and I had heard 5 plus, there was a couple of others that didn't make the top 5 that kind of fit in. But yeah, some of these are obviously, this is perfect situation. We had the facility, we had opportunity. It's an unincorporated area. We were able to make a TIF out of it so that we've got some dedicated funding.
Correct.
So kind of, I mean, not by luck. I mean, it was all put together so that it made some sense. And each of those 5 zones or 7, whatever they happen to be, will have a unique twist to it. Some will be within cities that are already doing some things, and some will be partially in cities, partially in the county that you can take a look at. But I think to the extent that we can, think through that process and partner up even with other communities, it's all good. It's always a good thing to try to provide opportunities.
Just-
Yeah.
Oh, I'm
No,
sorry.
I'm finished. Thank you.
Commissioner Justice?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Yeah, the 5 zones of poverty report, I think, was done in 2011, 2012, something like that, before we came on the commission. I remember Commissioner Brickfield talking about it a lot. But the reason, one of the things that got me really interested in Lealman was that the other 4 zones, like Commissioner Eggers just said, the other 4 zones are somehow connected either completely within a city or partially in a city. And Lealman was the one that stood out as being the responsibility of the county. And we are doing work in Largo with High Point with the joint project there. And I remember that earlier in one of the budget decision packages was a update to that, the 5 zone study. So hopefully we'll have some good information back to see the impacts that have been made over the last decade.
And we have the CRA going on in Clearwater as well.
Correct.
So Greenwood, yeah.
Yep.
Barry, did you have something to add to the conversation? No?
No, I think when we get the report back, I actually forgot that they were working on it, so I'm glad for you to remind me. But so when they bring that back, it'll be a great conversation to have at that time.
Great.
All
Thank
right.
you so much.
Great.
All right.
Thank you.
With the consensus of everyone, can we take just a 5-minute
Yep.
break, please, and then come right back?
Thank you all so much for having us today.
Thank you.
All right. Next up, commissioners, you're right. We didn't order lunch. We've been a little chatty this morning, but big topics, good topics. The next one up, though, is with our manufactured housing community systems improvement or system improvements. Jeremy is up. He's going to give you an overview. He's got our consultant with us, and this is really kind of they're going to give you an update and proposed change on the way we're addressing this. So, Jeremy, go ahead.
Good morning. As you're aware, we started this project as part of our overall inflow and infiltration to our sewer system reduction. As you know, we're hitting that problem from multiple angles. This is one of the angles where we have these manufactured home housing communities that have their own sewer systems, and this project is intended to convert their private systems into public systems that then we can maintain and reduce the actual inflow and I&I, and you'll see some summary of what that actual cost per reduction is. So I'd like to introduce Michelle Collins from Jacobs Engineers. She's our consultant working on this.
All right. Good morning or good afternoon, commissioners. Thank you for your time. My name is Michelle Collins, as Jeremy just introduced, and I'm the project manager for the Manufactured Housing Communities System Improvements. In this update, you will see that the project has evolved, and at the end of the presentation, we as the Utilities Department will propose recommendations for your consideration. Throughout the presentation, you will hear me refer to Manufactured Housing Communities as MHC. As part of the agenda, we will walk through a project overview. We'll talk about the design update for both wastewater and water system improvements. We'll touch on the grant funding update. We'll talk about the MHC agreement updates, public outreach, and next steps. To provide an overview for this project is 100% grant funded and includes the design and construction of 14 manufactured home communities' new wastewater systems. These communities are shown on the map to your right-hand side. Most of these communities are located along Lake Seminole, and 2 are also located in the Lealman area. All MHCs are 55 and up communities and include over 4,000 residences. As Jeremy alluded to, these communities were selected for this project as their wastewater systems are old and have been found to contribute excessive levels of inflow and infiltration to the county's public system, which can contribute to sanitary sewer overflows. Moving into the design update for the wastewater system, we are currently in the 30% design phase, with 90% scheduled for this September, so we are keeping to the grant requirements per their schedule. We have been meeting with each of the MHCs to present the site plan layouts and answer any questions that they may have regarding the design. Presented here is a summary of cost and rainfall-derived inflow and infiltration, or RDII. There is a lot of data on this slide because it is divided by each MHC and by how much impact each MHC is having on the county's wastewater system. RDII is a measure of inflow and infiltration and how that inflow and infiltration is impacting the system. So a higher number means more impact. What is also presented is the total cost estimate of over $80 million for the construction phase of this project, while the department has only $25 million in Resilient Florida grant funding without ARPA or any other grant. Presented is the water system design update. As discussed, due to limited grant funding and prioritizing wastewater projects with higher cost, the department is proposing to not proceed with the water system improvements. Presented on this slide is the grant funding update. On your left shows the existing funding, which currently includes Restore Act, Resilient Florida, and ARPA. Presented in the middle are funding opportunities. I would like to point out that Restore Act has committed to $3.8 million in construction inspection services. As this is finalized, it will be brought to you for decision in the future. While that's great, it is not nearly enough, as I talked on the former slide. We are proposing to reallocate the water system ARPA money to the wastewater system. And in the meantime, we continue to pursue grant opportunities with Resilient Florida and anything else that comes up. However, even with all of this, It is not anticipated that we will have the full $80 million necessary to construct this project for every MHC. So shown on your right-hand side are bidding opportunities, where we are also proposing that when the final estimates come in and all the grant money is determined, that the base bid only include as many MHCs as the grant funding allows, and that is currently 10 MHCs. We are currently working on finalizing the MHC agreement packages, which will include the agreement, the utility easement, and the title search reports, and any other various required attachments. Presented is the MHC agreement timeline. This shows that we are working with all 14 MHCs to provide them the agreement packages this month, and we anticipate having conversations with them to answer any questions regarding the agreement over the next few months during that review period. We anticipate receiving signed agreements in the October timeframe and executing those agreements towards the end of this year in December. Since this project involves over 4,000 residences, public outreach is a very important component to this project. We've been doing continuous public outreach throughout this project. We have been working one-on-one with the communications department. We've developed a website, a hotline, and we've also developed a project fact sheet, which is shown on your right-hand side. We have also been working directly with each of the MHCs and providing them overall updates to the project and keeping them informed of the design through in-person or virtual presentations, email communications, and phone calls. Overall next steps include facilitating the MHC agreements, moving forward with the design per the grant schedule requirements. We are applying for additional funding, and as I have already alluded to, we are proposing to reallocate the water system ARPA money to the wastewater system, which will increase the funding availability for the wastewater system construction. And this will be on your agenda for your August 1st meeting. And lastly, of course, continuous public outreach. Thank you for your time, and I would be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And that wastewater, making that the priority has a lot of logic to it. Are any of the facilities, is this straight grants or are facilities doing matching of any kind?
This is 100% grant funded.
Okay. Yeah, and you see on the map the ones that are in Seminole. Obviously, we're spending $18 million to clean up Lake Seminole. And that's where on all those I&I studies, that's where the red dots were on all those maps that we saw a couple years ago. So target area is very important. Thank you.
Following up on what Commissioner Justice said, are there any grant opportunities for any of these mobile home parks to partner with us on this?
That is a great question. We are actually, on the utility side, we are applying for grant funding currently and looking for grant funding opportunities. The MHCs themselves, they were informed of our decision, and they do have the opportunity to apply for grants as well.
So you're asking from a private side, or are you asking if the communities themselves could apply for a separate grant or a repeat or an overlap of the grants?
Yeah, I'm just thinking, are there any state or federal grants that the communities themselves could apply for to kind of partner with us on that so we could make our money go a little bit further?
And good question. I don't know the answer to that. We'll follow up with that. It's a good question.
And we certainly would if we can find grants or they can find grants. Right. But to Commissioner Justice's point, this is all grant funds that we're not asking the communities to fund it. There would be an opportunity if they wanted to improve their parks. Right. It's just so hard to get consensus on that, and we have timelines on these grants for implementation. It makes it really difficult to explore other options like that.
So, I would like to know. Mike, please. Apologize. I would like to know if you have an answer to whether or not the owners of these parks, are they able to apply for funds to improve their park, or is this all being done by the county, or how does it impact our municipalities, for example?
So Currently, the current project is all county-driven grant application. So it's all county applying for the grants to perform these activities. We're going to follow up to see if the mobile home parks themselves have the opportunity to get, as a private entity or community organization, to also apply for a state or federal grant. And I think I heard you say, are the cities also able to contribute? Was that where your question was going?
Well, yes, because I'm very aware of a couple of parks that are right on Lake Seminole, and they just so happen to be within the city limits of Seminole. And
all of the mobile home communities identified are connected to the Pinellas County sewer system. So I don't know if the city would really be, another city would really be willing to contribute money to help out our sewer system, perhaps.
don't you think we should ask?
Certainly we can ask.
Commissioner Eggers?
Your time has expired, sir. Quitting.
It's not coming on. Imagine that.
Maybe if you turn yours on.
No, mine doesn't have anything to do with it.
Okay, so none of these parks that we're talking about, none of these have their own sewer system, their own package system. They use our wastewater plants.
They use our wastewater plants. They have gravity systems within, private gravity systems within their own boundaries.
And are any of these parks single-owned lots, or are they owned by somebody that owns the entire, and that he rents out the sites?
I think it's a mix of both.
Jeremy's correct, it is a mix of both. There's cooperative ownership and then single resident.
So investing in infrastructure, knowing that it's going to be around, sometimes you get a little bit worried about the single-owned properties that might convert. And so are we getting any kind of commitment from them for operation duration based on the monies that we're giving from an infrastructure standpoint?
Certainly. So in the MHC agreement packages, we will be providing to each of the MHCs for review, signature, and approval on their side. They will have their legal also review that. But how the agreement contract is written will address the various ownership models per MHC. Okay. And the agreement also includes language that protects the county against any changes in the future, depending on that ownership model.
Okay. So our investment's going to be protected for a period of time, and if they do something differently, then we'll get reimbursement.
Yes.
That's really important.
That agreement.
That's a lot of money that we're investing, and we're investing in their future, and if they're not going to do it, then our other parks could use it. So, okay, thank you.
And that is actually a requirement per the grant as well.
Okay, thank you for that. Appreciate it.
The infrastructure we're installing will end up being county infrastructure. So they will now be public sewers, and we will own the maintenance of that. So now and going forward, it won't retrograde back to a condition that has the I&I. We'll be able to keep and maintain it just like the rest of our system.
And I thought...
Did you get that, Commissioner? I'm sorry. So we're putting this in, but then it's going to be our system. Right now, they have their system, they maintain it, but it connects to our system. That's the reason we're getting straight rainwater, right, and creating the overflows. Under this revised model, we're going to put this in, and then we're going to own it and maintain it. And so it becomes just like part of our retail service.
We'll have.
Yeah, but that is a significant investment.
Yes.
Yeah.
We're going to retain the easements over that infrastructure just like we would in any other property. So you won't be able to do anything to the property without addressing our infrastructure and our easements.
Got it.
So I thought Commissioner Eggers was going to ask this question, because he always does. Have we reached out to the owners of those parks to let them know that this is going on?
Oh, yeah.
Extensively.
So they understand it?
Extensively. That's how they've identified it to this point. So there's lots of communication with those parks because, frankly, we only want to do this where it's wanted.
Excellent, thank you. Okay,
The biggest takeaway on this, Commissioners, as you see, is that there's not enough money, so we're going to have to prioritize. And what the recommendation is to move the money from the water side over to the wastewater side. We get our biggest bang for our buck from an environmental and from an SSO standpoint. So that'll be on the agenda, and then we'll bring that back to you. But I think they have a couple more pieces to this.
That was the end of the presentation. I went back to show the slide as one of the commissioners was referring to it.
okay. Anything else? Commissioner Eggers, anything else?
Okay.
Thank you.
Over here, no?
Thank you.
Okay. What? Did you have something? I think Commissioner Eggers may have had another question. No, I don't. Thank you. I thought so.
All right, as we're moving towards lunch here, the next item up is maximum millages. As you know, we have to certify to the property appraiser by August the 2nd. That establishes the maximum millage rates. We have to do that per state statute prior to going into our budget process. And so Chris is here to outline that.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. Thank you for having me today. As you can see, as the Administrator said, counties must establish the maximum millage rates by August 2nd of each year. The millage rates may be decreased. They may not be increased. Very important to know. And the maximum millage increase, these will be used in the trim notices that come out later in August. And there's a little definition of millage, but you all know what that is. So here are the 3 county-wide millage rates that we have: general fund, health, and EMS. You can see the reduction of the reduction that we have. We have another county-wide, the Pinellas Planning Council, right there, also recommended as the same at this point. We have our 6 dependent special districts. All 6 are recommended at the same level. We've worked very closely with each of them, including the one that we talked about, Feather Sound, staying the same, and they've got a very good reason for doing so. And then the 12 fire protection districts, 11 of which are being reduced in the recommendation and 1 staying the same. And then a couple of next steps that are right behind it. You'll see the dates that are coming forward, and I'll be happy to answer any questions you may have.
Commissioner Eggers.
So I'm glad to see the fire departments are being very aggressive in their maximum millage. That's great. The budget timeline that I'm looking at there, it doesn't have embedded in there any additional time for us to revisit. I'm assuming that we'll have other opportunities to.
Yes, absolutely. Well, we're going to have work sessions coming up, so we can certainly use that time. If you have questions, we're going to be meeting one-on-one next week. And so if you want for us to put that on an agenda at any of the work sessions, we certainly can do that, or if we want to have additional meetings.
Well, I think you should have it certainly on our work sessions, and if we don't need it, we don't need it. But I do think there will be. I don't want to, none of this needs to be done in September. Correct. You know, at the end of at that point, we're either for it or against the budget, and right. I think we still have work to do. So, okay. my opinion. Thank you.
Anyone else?
And so with that, with consensus, we can use this for us to transmit this to the property appraiser. If there's consensus, it doesn't have to be a formal vote. I see a few heads nodding. For the millages as outlined in this presentation. Okay. Good. Okay. All right. That concludes this presentation.
Thank you, Chris.
Thank you, Commissioners.
Okay, on to the agenda brief. Okay, make sure I'm on the right one here. August 1st, regular agenda. You go to item number 3. This is a countywide map amendment from retail services to employment. This is a property that's currently used as a general warehouse, and they want to use part of it for outdoor storage, so they're asking for a change to an employment category, which also permits warehouse and storage uses. Unanimously recommended by Planners Advisory Council. Item 4 is a countywide map amendment, residential medium to public semi-public, 1 acre. This is Tarpon Springs Utility Department, and you can see the breakdown here. Again, recommended unanimously. Item 5 is a employment center and no designation to a public, semi-public. And this is for our airport to be able to put in they've got to modify their plan, but this really is for the Airco property and a taxiway for that. Item number 6 is an ordinance. This is for the countywide plan. This is the first of 2 public hearings proposed to consider the countywide plan. This addresses the TEALS updates that you received a presentation on. This includes the 4 new subcategories: multimodal index, transfers of density, multi-jurisdictional activity centers, and the coastal high hazard area changes.
Barry, so I'm sorry. So we're going to have a presentation on that one.
Oh, absolutely.
Okay, and then no voting on this time because it's the second. It will be we'll have a second.
Yeah. This will be the first of the 2 public hearings,
Okay.
but we'll absolutely have a presentation on it.
Okay, good. All right, thank you.
And they'll walk through those again with you. And if you have questions on things like that, that's a pretty, that's a big change, and I see them in the back, but if that's a big change, if you want to have individual meetings and be able to go through that prior to that meeting, just, let us know.
It's so much more fun to wrangle with these guys out here.
I like to see them squirm too, but, if you have detailed, I can handle it though, so.
Yeah.
Okay, over to item number 12, award of bid to Patterson Veterinary Supply. This is to provide new kennels out at the animal shelter. Onto the regular agenda, item 13 is the third amendment for Schindler Elevator Corporation. This is for repairs for 33 elevators. Increases the expenditures revised in your packet. Item 14 is a recommendation to fund the Diley Museum. This is a staff recommendation, increasing the total amount to $25 million. And again, there'll be a presentation. The TDC did recommend approval going to $34 million. This is above the initial $16.5 million that was previously approved.
I have a question on this item. My understanding was in 2019, I believe, the county commission approved $17 million for the Dolly, and that money was never actually given to them because of the COVID. Is that correct?
So in what typically happens is that the commission approves, it was 16.5, and the commission approves it, and then we go back and develop an agreement with them. That's when COVID hit, all the cost expansions, et cetera, and stuff, and so it took Dolly some time to come back to us. So we never executed, we never brought to you the agreement that would formally approve that funding.
Okay. I have the same, and I probably, won't talk about it now because of time, and I'll discuss it Tuesday, the same reservations that I talked about last work session that we had about this project, and it's not really this project, it's because of other projects. But I do think that if the county commission already approved money for them, and the only reason why they haven't received it was because of the pandemic, that should be something to consider. If we don't do 25 million, then maybe just give them the 17 that was already approved.
We'd be happy to finalize that agreement. What we need is a decision regarding this piece, because we'll do one funding agreement with them. They have to be able to show that they have the matching funds to be able to complete the project. So that's part of it, is they said the costs go up, so I can't move forward until I have additional funding. So if we can tie the two together, regardless of your decision, then they'll have a decision to make how to move forward.
Commissioner Justice.
Thank you. Just so I have clarity, is this decision the initial step and it goes back to agreement, or is this the final?
Kevin?
Just to be clear, yeah, the 17 million that we approved was the conceptual approval.
Correct.
So the scope, not only has the dollars changed, but the scope of the project has dramatically changed from what it was
Yes.
before COVID.
That is correct. Kevin Knudsen, Assistant County Administrator. This would be the initial step. We'd have to go to contract again. I do want to make two brief clarifications. The initial award was for 17.5 million. This is 16.5 million more than that. That's what's in the staff report and why it looks that way. The second thing is in the past, we would have waited till the project was completed to give them the funds, and they have requested to get progress payments, and that's in this as well. So that's a little bit different from the original agreement, and I want to call that to your attention.
All right. It's just, I mean, so this is, basically, we're starting over.
Yes.
The 17 million doesn't exist, that concept doesn't exist anymore. This is a brand new. So if the board approves an up to amount on Tuesday, then you all and your team would go back to Dolly, negotiate the terms, negotiate the benefits, whatever our marketing arrangements, all those things, and then it would come back to the commission for a final vote.
That is correct.
Okay, thank you.
Anyone else?
Yeah, Commissioner Justice answered my question, which is really about scope change, and then cost of goods sold changed as well. So it morphed into something completely different than when it was originally because of those two items. Thank you.
Anyone over here? No. Okay, and I also, I'm sorry?
They're good.
Oh, okay. We're done over here? Okay. I also feel compelled to share that the TDC, of which I chair this year, recommended the full approval of the 34 million, but there was a little caveat in there that I was not aware of, and this happened prior to Brian Lowak being there, and our former person never brought it to the attention of the board. So when the board made that decision, they did not have the economic impact study that we currently know is recommending a different amount. So there have been several miscommunications along the way because of that action and the fact that we had not discussed it yet as well. So the more we can clarify where we are, I think the better off we'll be.
And I think the staff recommendation is tied into your packet, if I'm...
It is. The report from the consultant that we engaged is in the Granicus.
And that's how we come up with the $25 million number.
It's based on the projections for the new rooms that they would generate and what that would return to us in TDT funds.
And so I'm assuming that, are we going to bring this back before the board?
Well, we're asking for this approval on Tuesday. Whatever you decide, we'll negotiate the final agreement with Dolly and bring it back for final approval. We need to know what amount to go negotiate a contract with. Staff recommendations for 25 million to increase it from 17 to 25, not the 34 as requested.
Okay.
Okay. Item number 15 is Eastlake Recreation. They want to, this is a MSTU to build some concrete block storage bins. $20,000. Item 16 is an interlocal agreement with Pinellas County and Pinellas County Schools for our disaster shelter facilities and ancillary services. This has been a great working relationship over the years. Item 17, ranking of firms of development property located in Lealman CRA. So this is for Habitat. So this is a companion item with number 18. So this provides, through a competitive process, to develop 12 single-family homes. And then the follow-on item is to transfer that land over for the Housing Finance Authority to be able to complete the project. Item 19 is a budget amendment, reallocate American Rescue Plan funds, as we just discussed, from the water system to the wastewater system on the mobile home community program. Say again? 18 was companion item 17. I just did them all together. Item 20 is third-party railroad reimbursement agreement. This is for 46th Avenue grade crossing and control devices. Item 21, First Amendment with Keep Pinellas Beautiful for adoptive program management services. figures are outlined within your packet. It does increase the time, it gives a time extension and a cost increase. Item 22, First Amendment with Grata, whatever it is, for sludge dryer project. This makes a lot of improvements to the facility where they do the pelletizing. It makes upgrades to that facility until we know what we're doing on a regional basis. 23 is interlocal agreement with the town of Bel Air for wholesale water. You know that we've been through many iterations of looking at that, and they've decided just to purchase water from us. So we'll be a wholesale provider to them.
I'm sorry, just want clarification back on 22. I was sitting here looking at the 1.3 million, and all of a sudden I heard 57 million, so I wanted to make sure I knew what 57 million was. Confession, I haven't looked at this one yet, so I will over the weekend. But is that 57 million the contract from the beginning?
Yeah.
To the...
What is it, 25 years? Yeah, so it's the entire amount that we're spending on that process.
On that already
Correct.
approved $57 million over 25 years?
Correct.
Okay.
So this is just the 1.3 improvements to the facility to make it safe for operations.
No. Well, making it safe is good, but I just want to make sure I knew what the 57 million was. Thank you.
Huh? Yeah, it's a 1.3 is added, but the 57 million is the original contract. 25-year period. Correct.
Under item number 24, this actually provides for 2 actions for you to take in a single recommendation. This would be to authorize the initiation of litigation against various manufacturers of insulin and certain pharmacy benefit managers related to some actions that took place that were brought to light in some Senate hearings, basically finding collusion between these 2 parties and driving up the costs of insulin. We have paid those exorbitant costs for insulin and in the coverage of our employees and retirees on health plans. So we are recommending that we file suit and join in some of the litigation that is currently occurring regarding these manufacturers to recover costs. Part of this action would also retain largely the same consortium of law firms to handle this litigation as those that have represented us in the opioid litigation.
So would this be considered a class action?
No, it's not a class action. Class actions are different. There are a number of different plaintiffs involved in these cases, but it is not considered a class action.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else?
Just
Commissioner Justice?
thank you. Is this the first that we've discussed this?
It is.
Okay, I'm just wanted to make sure I wasn't missing something because typically when we've had these lawsuits, we've had more buildup to the actual decision of filing suit.
This one, I would characterize this one as somewhat different than like the opioid that we had a lot of discussion about. That one was I would say a lot less direct connection between the damages suffered and some of the actions taken. This is also one that we don't see currently the AG stepping in and taking any action because these really are direct damages to the county. Not to say that, there wasn't a causal connection in the opioid suit too, but this is a lot, in looking at this, we feel that this is a lot, will require a lot less work on county staff as what we saw with the opioid litigation to gather data. It's pretty simple here. Here's what we paid, here's what they charged, here's what the price really should have been. So a lot more direct, I think, causation.
In follow-up, assuming it goes through like they expect and we get damages, how does that impact our relationship with the providers that we're suing as far as other contracts they have with the county?
Well, that would be a good question. I will tell you, we currently, we have a single contract with a health provider and pharmacy benefits. I don't know that they would be the named defendants in here. But, certainly we want to be doing business with folks that are not undertaking some of the actions that led to the findings here.
Well, just on the opening page, one name is one that we do business with. That a package arrives at my house every month, and so I was just curious how that in other cases, when it's not so long and lengthy of a relationship, we sue, we win, we don't have a relationship with them for X number of years. And I was just curious if that was a standard process, or is that a case-by-case?
I would say it's case by case. And again, this is something that if we don't desire to go forward, we do not certainly need to. But again, was an attempt to recoup some costs from prior years. So.
Okay.
And I don't anticipate any reports.
I'm sorry, I didn't get the,
For item 25, I don't anticipate any reports.
okay, thank you so much. Barry?
Item 26, I will have a county administrator's report. Item 27 are appointments to the Emergency Medical Services Advisory Council. There are 2 appointments listed for District 1 and District 2. Item 28 is appointments to Career Source, appointment of 3 business seats and 1 workforce seat. And that concludes the agenda.
Okay, do we have county commission business from anyone? Commissioner Justice?
Just hopefully we'll have 7 commissioners there on Tuesday for the last item, so we don't have the 3-3 anymore.
Well, I guess we can't really control that. Thank you for your
I have a couple
understanding.
items, but they can wait until Tuesday due to the time.
I have several items, and most of them can wait, except for, I have a gift for Commissioner Peters on the passing of your brother Mike. And so I wanted to share that with you.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it. It was unusual to lose my brother-in-law and my brother in the same week, but thank you.
I'm very sorry, Kathleen. From our hearts to yours, hugs, kisses, and much sympathy. I did have a request for the board to light the Skyway green the week of November 5th through 10th, which we've done in prior years, and this particular request is on the master list anyway, so we don't need a formal vote for that. But on November 11th, which is Veterans Day, I have been asked to discuss the creation of a resolution and proclamation that could be presented to our VA office in Bay Pines, create a press release, and perhaps an activity. And I thought that might be something we should discuss as a board. So if you'd like to discuss it now, that's fine, or we can take it up on Tuesday, whichever is your preference. What? Tuesday sounds good. Is everybody good with that? Okay, done. And with that said, I don't have anything else. Does anybody else? Commissioner Peters?
I just opened it up and saw that there's a little gift in there, and I just thank you. I'm going to donate that to PEMS, so thank you.
Thank you, and we would have done that on your behalf, Commissioner, except we were not able to get the appropriate details. So I figured you could handle that. Thank you, I appreciate it. You're welcome. Okay, then, with that said, we are adjourned. Thank you, everybody.